Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's
I'm
see.
kind
Good
of
Morning,
sad.
baby.
morning, Eleanor. Welcome
I'm
back.
kind of.
I got somebody. Oh, Devin's trying to get in here.
I'm
Okay.
kind of sad.
I am so sorry. You sad because you didn't go back in person today?
Yes.
Stefan, I'm so sorry. I was excited to. Honestly, I just think I have a cold, but everyone is so cautious with COVID right now that after class I need to get a hold of my doctor. I'm sick from here up. The rest of me is A-okay. So, and I don't have a fever or anything, but yeah, they won't let Tony go to program because I have a cold, and we can't go in person because I have a cold. I'm so sorry. Really sorry. Someone, don't be mad at me, okay?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Accidents happen and stuff. I'm fine.
Well, I don't know that a cold's an accident, but
Well, it's not your fault. Things happen, so I'm fine.
I'm really sorry. I don't even know how tomorrow's looking yet until I talk to the doctor after this.
So, Sherry, is the cold going to be lasting all week, or what?
I have no idea. All right, so we have Yvonne, and now we're just waiting for Jonathan, and that's everybody, right? So how can you predict how long the cold lasts?
Yeah.
Does anyone know how to do that? Because I'd like to know when it's going to be over.
No, I don't.
I was ready to be back in class.
Hey, Sherry, you'd be like, oh.
My predictions say.
Yeah.
Dan. Okay, so did y'all have a nice break?
Yeah, I had an excellent break.
I did, yeah.
Anything you want to share with the class?
For one thing, the flight was long to London.
Oh, you did go out of the country. How long of a flight was it?
Several hours.
Did you have fun?
It was a boring flight. Other than that, yes. So.
Did you have relatives, or you're just going on a trip?
Trip.
Nice. Yes, Stefan?
Oh no, I was just gonna say what I did next. I just wanted to raise my hand.
Go ahead. What'd you do?
I hung out with Eli and Skylar this weekend. We watched a movie. It had some noodles and company, if you know what that is. And I just pretty much hung out at home. Besides from that,
Skylar Hart or a different Skylar?
different Skylar.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Didn't know. I didn't know. All right. Anyone else want to share? I can tell you, I think where I got my cold, we did a drive up to Tahoe, and I was supposed to even spend the night at a friend's cabin, but as soon as I got there and got out of the truck, I'm like, this is too cold for me. So we just hung out for a couple hours and came home, but the next morning I started feeling a tiny bit like it, but I felt worse yesterday. So anyway, I'll talk to the doctor. Anybody else want to share anything? Okay. Well, we're moving on and back to our interview questions and resumes. So the main thing I'm going to be wanting you to work on in one-on-one times is going to be resumes. Okay? And so far for today, let's just keep it how we had it for whoever works with whoever. Right? I don't have it all in my head, but the schedule you've been doing, let's keep at least for today. Okay? We're all good with that?
I hope that they remember who had me, because my stuff is all in another room and I don't have access to it. I thought
I remember.
Schedule. You remember?
Yeah, I have you today. I think it's 9 something.
9:40,
I know it's
9:40 to 10:10.
Yeah.
Does anyone not remember their one-on-one times?
And I think I have Sam today too.
We don't have Jonathan today?
O'clock.
Jonathan's dad just texted me about his new phone number. I mean, like at 8:25, so I don't know why he's not on.
11
Right on time.
So let's go through this together. Andrew, who do you work with? Or do you today?
Not today. Tomorrow.
Okay.
As
Tyler?
Yvonne.
For me, I have John on Tuesday at 9:40 and Thursday at 11.
Okay, so you don't have them. Jordan, what's your time?
Today I'm with John at 10, wait, yeah, 10:20 to 11 o'clock.
Okay. Eleanor, do you have one-on-one today?
11 o'clock.
With who?
Yvonne.
Okay. Sam?
I had 10:20 with Yvonne.
Okay. Glad.
I have one with John on Tuesday and Friday at 10:20.
Okay. Stefan? You said yours, right?
If I have Yvonne today at 9:40 to 10:10.
All right. Devin? Can't hear ya. Gotta do that little connector thing?
Yeah. Devin, you're going to have to click the arrow next to the stop video and then choose your headphones.
It's next to the mute
Okay.
button.
Yeah. So go to stop video. Don't click stop video. Just click the arrow next to stop video. Oh, I'm sorry. Next to the mute. Yeah, you're right. It's next to the mute button. So you click the arrow next to the mute button.
Yes, Andrew?
Can I go grab my jacket?
Yes, but you should have it before you start class, correct?
Correct.
Have whatever you're going to need or think you might need with you. Okay?
Yeah.
Click the arrow next to the mute button and then click the headphones that you're wearing in the list.
Okay, well, I'll come back. Royce, do you have one-on-one time today?
No.
How come? And we're only missing 2 people right now. It seems like.
One until Tuesday.
Okay. All right. So Nathan hurt his arm. And he has a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, so he won't be here. And I don't know. I can get a hold of Jonathan real quick because they just sent me his new number.
Hopefully he's not at the classroom or something.
Well, I just talked to his dad yesterday.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure I made sure I was talking to everybody so that no one ended up at the classroom and
Yeah.
be unhappy with me. Hello?
Oh, hey, Sherry.
Why aren't you in Zoom?
I am on Zoom.
You're not on my Zoom.
Oh, wait.
Join my Zoom, okay?
Okay, got it.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Whew. I haven't talked this much in a day or two. Okay, so what I did is I pulled up a few of the interview questions, and then I also have something I'd like to share with you. So I know that one person at Kaiser says that you shouldn't do a, oh my gosh, at the top of your resume, John, Yvonne.
A header?
No. Objective. But I'm kind of thinking you should. So I did look at some examples yesterday, and I don't know if we'll get there this morning or not, but this afternoon we can at least look at it. But you can at least get your basics. Do you still all have the resume outline that I sent? Don't all speak at once.
I should. So let me check.
I still have it.
Okay. The only person, well, I didn't look at yours, Jordan, because yours is on the email. I can't remember if you got yours done or not, but I pulled up a few to share and discuss, okay? So let's go ahead and share the screen. Oh, it's going to come up to my email. I knew it was. Darn it.
Sherry?
Yeah.
When did you send the template for the resume?
Oh, I've sent it a couple of times. But I can send it again if I need to. Okay, so the first one, it looks like, of your interview questions I brought up is Royce's. Royce, I know we went over yours once, but I think it's pretty excellent. And so I brought it up as a good example. I don't know how this thing usually moves for me. Why isn't it moving?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can use that example. I don't mind.
Okay. So his answers are personable. They're complete. They really kind of talk about, you have been signed out. You must sign in again. What? Oh, I hope I don't lose you all. I've never seen this before.
It's just your Google account.
Why is it making me do that? And now it's not making me do it.
You've been signed out.
Because you're signed in now.
Your Chrome.
Am I signed? Okay. Yeah, I've never had that one come up. Okay. So
It's one of the glitches that they have.
Okay, so Royce, do you want to go over this or do you want me to go over it?
You can go over it.
Okay, so he said, tell me about yourself. I mean, there's a couple of things you need to fix here. I am a good worker, and good wouldn't be capitalized, right? But I'm not picking on that too much because this isn't like a paper you're turning in. This is something you're going to study for your interviews, and you're not going to hand this over to a boss, so I'm not worried about that much. Okay, I'm a good worker, and I do everything in the book, like read the instructions so I can teach others how to do it themselves. I mean, he's getting his personality out there. He's talking about his skills. I mean, I think that's really good. Does anyone else have other feedback on that?
He's good. Good job, Royce.
That was very creative.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an attention getter, especially when it's the first question right there. Okay, it did that sign out thing again. Are you seeing that when it comes up?
Yes. I don't know why it's doing that.
I don't either. If something does happen, I will get out of here, re-sign in, go back into Zoom, and have you rejoin me, okay?
I don't think it's Zoom related.
Okay. Why should I hire you? Because I'm dependable and a fast learner?
Sherry, why don't you just download it?
Well, because I've got a bunch of them up there. It's the only way I know how to do this.
That's weird, huh?
I don't know why it's doing that.
Sure, if you want to, you can make John the co-host. Then if you need to leave and rejoin, you can do that.
Yeah, that might work.
I think it's just the Google account that they asked her to sign out of.
Yeah, it's not a Zoom thing.
Yeah.
So should I make co-host? No. I'll do it just in case. I made you co-host. Okay.
That normally happens to me when I'm not doing anything on my computer, so I'm so confused of why it's doing it so much.
That's okay. Let's hopefully that's not going to be the focus of our class this morning. Okay. So, he said he's dependable. He's a fast learner. He's supportive to coworkers. He's willing to help if they need help, and he's okay, and he's
Weird.
also able to do extra work. So he gave a whole lot of things that he could do right there, right? Question 1 and question 2, he's like listing skills.
Sherry?
Yes?
You want me to read it? Because it seems like it could go on forever.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, which one were we on?
3. I don't know what to do.
All right. Whichever jobs you have worked or volunteered and you like best. I work in a library called the Family Research Library, and for my job, my people had discovered or make their own family trees. I took my teacher's photo album and scanned all the pictures that were in that album and put them in a USB.
Okay, so very detailed. Go ahead, Royce.
Can you just
Go ahead.
Can you describe a time when your work was constructively criticized? How did you respond? My boss told me I need to talk to coworkers more often since I had to work around myself because the reason why, because I need to be more social to my coworkers.
Okay.
What are your greatest professional strengths? I'm a great typer. My typing speed is 45 to 50 words per minute, and my typing accuracy is 95 to 98%. I can lift heavy items to the designated areas. I'm quite handy with office technology.
So they like numbers, right? We talked about this a little bit the last time that you read it. They like numbers. They're like, okay, well, you can type. All right, so how fast can you type? How accurately can you type, right? He was very detailed and descriptive.
Tell me about accomplishments that you are most proud of. I'm most proud to take care of my mother when she needed the most. How would you respond to an upset customer or member? I would listen to them and I would try to help them to the best of my ability. And if I could, I'd get my manager to handle the problem.
So that's the one that I keep telling you all. And when I listen, I look at everyone's, and not most of you are saying the listening first. That listening part needs to come first, right? Most of you say, I would try to help them, and if I couldn't, I would get my supervisor. And yes, that supervisor piece needs to be there in the end. But first, you have to listen, and hardly anyone, as much as I've said it, have written that. So good job, Royce.
When you see yourself in 5 years, I see myself working full time and with my mom living with me, not me living with her, she living with me and taking care of her.
Okay, good.
Do you have any questions for me? When can I expect to hear back from you? And do you provide new train to new employees?
All good questions.
What are some of my hobbies? I like spending time with my friends and family, and I like to read most often.
Okay, so I think that was very complete. Now, who did I pull up here? Is this
Samantha?
This is Sam. Okay, so Sam. Sam, tell me about yourself.
I am a hard worker, willing to learn. I am a hard worker, willing to learn. I am a team player. I have the ability to complete assignments, duties.
Good. Again, good, right? She listed several things that she's capable of doing. So why should I hire you?
I like to work and always on time.
Okay, so a couple of things here. When I read yours, I hear a lot of repetition. Okay, so you've got some good answers, but you don't want to keep saying the same things over. So listen to what you just said there and see how many times you say these things again throughout it, okay? And I'm not picking on you. I just want to help you be able to make it the best it could be, okay? So go ahead. And number 3, which of the jobs have you worked or volunteered in did you like the best?
I used to work at JCPenney's. I liked the type of the work I did.
Okay, so what type of work? I think you should go a little more detailed there. I'm really sorry, you guys. I'm having a rough Monday morning. So they're going to want to know what type of work you did that you liked. Get a little more descriptive, okay?
Okay.
All right. And then number 4, can you describe a time when your work was constructively criticized and how did you respond?
There was a time I was working, I made mistakes and I fixed it.
Okay, so what was the mistake and how did you fix it? Okay, so again, just a little more details. All right? I mean, you're on the right path for sure, but I do think you could use more details. All right, so now when you read number 5, have you heard that somewhere else?
Yeah.
So, you only get these few minutes with this manager. So do you want to repeat your stuff or do you want to be able to put some more out there?
Some more.
That's what I think, okay? So now, I like your next one, accomplishment you're most proud of being accepted into Project Search. Now, if you're at Kaiser, they're going to know what that is, right? But if you're anywhere else, chances are they're not. So again, with more descriptors, what is Project Search? Okay.
It's a program.
Oh, it's a program. Okay, so that's still not descriptive. It's a program that teaches us, that helps me to, you know what I mean? You need more descriptors in there. Okay? I really don't understand what's going on here.
I think you need to update your Chrome.
Like, sorry. I don't feel like I can do any of it right now while we're all on here together, but I will try to do things later. Okay. So, so give more descriptors again. So number 7, how would you respond to upset customer member? So I like everything you said, except we're missing that first part, right?
Right.
Listen. Okay, because that's the number one way of de-escalating people. They don't want to hear from you when they're mad, right? They want to go boom and get it out first. And then that is a little calming in itself. And if you listen to them, they're going to get calmer right then, and then you can be more helpful. Okay? So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Living on my own and working full time. But how about a job? Where do you see yourself with a job? Because these are very important things. And of course, as your teacher and as your parents and as yourself, these are awesome. But this is a job for a job interview, right? So where do you see yourself work-wise? So maybe, again, a little bit more right there. And I think your questions are good. Do your employees wear uniforms? I mean, if you already know that answer, I wouldn't ask. I mean, like if you're at KFC, you know they wear a uniform, right?
Right.
But somewhere that you don't know, then that's a good question to ask. And do you allow overtime? Yeah. So just more details, okay?
All right.
But you're off to an amazing start. Okay, you have some good stuff in there. Whoops, signing me out. All right, who do I have up here now? Devin.
Yeah.
Okay, Devin. So I think I heard a little repetition in here too. Let's see how we do. I am respectful, honest, and very good at
Assuring.
Sick laughter going on here, yes?
Why don't you try closing the other tabs that you have open?
Okay. Andrew, I'm just going to get through this right now the best I can because I have these tabs up because I want to share them, okay?
Okay.
That's why I have them up there. If I close them, then that kind of goes what we're going to discuss today, right? Okay. Oh, my eyes. All right. Why should I hire you? Because I know how to communicate with coworkers, supervisors, and my boss based on my experience. It's a good reason that you for people to hire you. Do you have any other reasons? Oh, sorry. Okay. So then we went to which of the jobs you worked or volunteered in. I worked at Eschaton because I enjoyed bussing tables, putting away dirty dishes, and setting up tablecloths. I think one of the places I've seen a lot of repetition, Devin, is you're the first one that's really gotten your resume done, and you have the same words in your resume. So remember, they're going to look at your resume. They're going to read that over real quick before they ask you questions. And I've seen this happen in a lot of the interviews at Kaiser where they're like, yeah, I just read that on your resume. So now what? Right? Because they really don't want to hear things over and over. They would rather hear. It's ridiculous. I mean, I want to save that one because that's what I had for this afternoon and I didn't want to lose it. Maybe I can get rid of this. And I don't know about the portal. Let's see. I did this one already. And this one already. I don't know if that'll make a difference. I could get rid of my email. Oops. Move this. Get rid of my email. That's all I could think of that I could get rid of right now. Okay. When your work was, I loved your answer on the constructively criticize. I thought that was like super good. I was never criticized at my work when I finished my job because I listened to my boss and made sure I understand what was asked of me. I was like, boom, what a great answer. At least in my opinion, I'd be like, well, wow, it's not like he's overly confident, but you backed it up with the facts, right? So I thought, I personally really like that. Does anyone else have feedback on number 4 for Devin?
No, I liked it. Good job, Devin. You did great.
Anybody else?
I do like it, but the repetition still bugs me.
Yeah, well, that's not on that question, though, right?
Oh, well, thankfully.
Can I say something about that?
Of course.
Personally, I don't see any repetition in his, but that's just my opinion.
Can you take your hand down?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, so this is where I see repetition. On number 1, he's respectful, honest, very good at computers. Let's see. Number 2, I don't think is repetitive. Let's see. Very punctual, hard worker, fast learner. Maybe because I was looking at his resume too that I felt that more. Learned to turn in assignments on time they were due. It's kind of like getting my work done on time. Let's see. Okay, sorry, I'm just looking. Okay. Okay. So maybe it's not that much repetition. I think maybe because I was looking at the resume too. Okay, so I would maybe reword 6 a little bit. You know, maybe that you always get your work done on time. Anybody else on 6? Or do y'all like it?
Huh. I'm reading it right now.
Maybe, I think it's asking you for a specific, I have learned how to turn my assignments in on time.
Yeah, that might be it.
I think it's asking for a specific accomplishment.
Like,
So you might want to be more specific about that. Like, which assignments did you turn on time? Like, explain the assignment, maybe?
Yeah, that might work.
But do we, well, maybe. But something to think about. So, and then number 7, Devin, again, it's just the listening part first. Other than that, I think it's really great.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll continue. Okay. And again, maybe it's just me. On number 8, because it's a boss, don't you think they'd maybe want to know something about your career path and what kind of job you think you'd be having? Or am I going too deep?
No, that's something that they want to, like, I want to do janitorial stuff, so they might want to know something like that, so they know what jobs to give you and stuff.
Anybody else have any comments on number 8? Devin's listening.
Yep.
Wait.
Come on, y'all. And I mean, I know it's a Monday, but come on, y'all.
I know.
It's a Monday.
I think it's good.
All right, so maybe Devin, just adding something about where you see yourself work-wise. Okay, but the rest of it's great. I don't want you to take out any of it.
Can I ask Devin a question real quick about that?
Sure.
Where would you like to work, Devin? Like, what do you want to do? I'm just curious because it might help you if you put that specific thing in.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily have to be specific, right?
Well, yeah.
I see myself working with a company where there's room for growth, or that I see myself working full time at a, something. Oh, this.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's only been a half an hour.
I just wanted to give you that advice. It might help you.
I like your questions. I think are good. How many hours would I work each week? Again, if you don't know if they wear uniforms, ask. But if you know it, then I wouldn't ask it. And do you have health? I would say do you, not they. But, you know, a lot of people want to know about health benefits, so I think that is good also. All right, I'm going to move on to, I believe, what I have, CLAD's. CLAD's quite incomplete work care next. But CLAD.
Yes, I'm going to be working on that.
Okay. I am CLAD. I am a hardworking individual who gets along well with others and gets the job done. I have experience in food service and order fulfillment at Nordstrom. I like it. I think your first question's very complete, and it's not just, I like to play sports, right? I mean, it's work related. I think it's very good.
Thank you.
Okay. And then why should I hire you? You should hire me because I'm very here. I feel like you said the same thing twice in a different way,
I'm going to work on that.
and that you could have more in there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I'm going to be more detailed.
Punctual and I'm on time. Is punctual and on time the same thing?
Yeah, they are. I can just add more.
Yeah, and not do that twice, right? You can think of the way you'd rather word it. Boy, guys, I don't feel very good. Oh, woo! All right. All right. Which of the jobs you worked or volunteered in did you like the best? I enjoyed working at Nordstrom the best. Okay, but why? Because but I mean, you did answer the basic of it, but I really think you should say why you enjoyed it.
I'm going to work on that today.
Okay, and then
That was the last one I worked on.
and the rest is blank.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Today
have
I'm going to work on that.
there. I wanted to say, I mean, Devin, yours is very close to being complete. Here, I'm going to stop sharing. Maybe that'll help. I can close some of these things even and stop sharing. See what happens. Stop it. Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing.
Also, regarding your headache that you seem to have, maybe you should drink some water. Just put it out there.
Thank you. I have been drinking a lot of water, and I am going to get a hold of the doctor. I mean, I think last year before COVID, I would have just came to work today. But
I'm just
so
worried about you since you're my teacher.
thank you, Stefan. Yes, Andrew?
For me, I've actually read it in survival books. Rest promotes healing.
Yeah, so I'm going to let you all go now and go back to bed, okay? Yes,
Hey, you're not the only one that can go back to bed since I'm pretty tired since all the time shift.
Thad, go ahead.
Yes. Water is a blessing. I agree with you there.
Yes, it is. And several of you
Every day.
people to deliver water around the world, right? There were a few of you.
Cheers.
Oh, great.
Okay, put away the glass. You're starting to get silly and play now, and I've seen the glass about 7 times, and I was looking at the screen mainly. Okay. Thank you very much. Pull it in. You want your 3. Okay. All right. So there was one thing. Maybe I do want to try and share one more time. See if it's still up there. What's this? Who knows where I'm taking you right now? Oh, this one. Stop. Okay. So this, I was looking at some things last night, and I didn't know how to copy and paste this, so I just left it up here all night, which is maybe why I'm having a problem. Let's see. How can I? All right. So I was looking at entry-level resume objectives, because although one manager there at Kaiser says if you don't have a lot of experience, maybe you don't write it. Let's see. How to write an entry-level resume objective. Okay, so it says this is, how many of you know what a resume objective is?
Never mind. I thought I did, but never mind.
Okay.
I
all right.
do know.
So that's what we're going to talk about for a few here, because we're going to need to get busy on these resumes, because I'm really hoping with these numbers going down, we're going to get out there and work. All right. A resume objective is comprised of 1 or 2 sentences that serves as both an introduction and a statement of your intent as a job seeker. A resume objective gives the reader an idea of who you are, what they can expect from you, and what you hope to accomplish. The objective is one of the first things a hiring manager will look at, so communicating these facts effectively makes it easier for a hiring manager to decide, right? This is the very, very top underneath your name and email, right? My objective. That's the very first thing they look at, and chances are they're going to look at your resume before they ever look at you, right? So it is pretty important. So it says how to write entry-level resume objective. It says to write an effective entry-level resume objective, consider following these steps. 1, and I really liked this one, read the job description. Okay, and then you're going to highlight the key words, because those are words that you can put right in there, and you know that's what they're looking for because you're looking at that job description. And you're supposed to use action verbs and sell yourself. So it says promote yourself. So number 1, read job descriptions. The first step in writing a resume objective is to familiarize yourself with the entry-level jobs you're applying for. So read relevant job descriptions and the list of qualities that your potential employers are looking for. You may want to tailor your resume objective to the specific job each time you submit your resume, right? So it'll look different. For example, if you're looking at food service or you're looking at retail or you're looking at an office job, right? It's going to be different each time. Does anyone have any questions so far? Anybody?
It seems interesting, at least from me. It seems very interesting.
And this is going to take some time, and that's why I want you to really focus on these things in the one-on-ones, because it is individual to you. And so far as like practicing interviews, I think those will be things better that we can do, you know, as a class or in small groups. Okay?
That'd be easy for me.
So I think one-on-ones, this would be a good time to work on these. All right. So you're reading your job descriptions. Number 2, you're going to, as you're reading those descriptions, like how many of you, like right now I'm doing a book club and I have to write on all the chapters. So the first thing I do is I read my chapter and I go in and I highlight what I think is important. Okay. So that's what this is like. Highlight the keywords, the things you think that are important, you're going to highlight them so you can easily find them and go back to them. It says, if possible, use keywords from the descriptions in your resume objective. Borrowing the job description's vocabulary will help you present yourself as someone qualified for a specific job. You know, potential employers are looking for candidates with good interpersonal skills. You might use terms like confident, communicative, personable to describe yourself. Now, this isn't going to be us, but if the job requires a degree in engineering, you might introduce yourself as a recently graduated engineering student. These words will likely capture the hiring manager's attention and will help your resume stand out. You okay if I go on, or am I blowing your minds? Jordan, you okay?
I'm good.
It's okay.
I'm just trying to process it, so I'm reading what I can see at least.
Anybody else? Am I putting you in the dust? Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay. So then we come where it says use action verbs. When describing your work history or your experience, you want to make sure to use strong action verbs that show you had an impact and measurable. That's why I like it, like with Royce, right? When he said how many words a minute and what his accuracy is, right? They like numbers. So it's measurable. Okay, words like encouraged, built, contributed, and led show that you are an influential member of your previous teams. Most hiring managers want to know if you're capable of being a valuable asset to their team, even in entry-level positions. And you've all learned quite a lot about working as a team. If you can show that you positively affected the productivity of your classmates, coworkers, or colleagues, the potential employer will be more willing to add you to their team. And the last one we're going to talk about right now is promote yourself. Perhaps the most important part of writing an effective resume objective is knowing how to promote your own qualities and skills. If you're applying for entry-level jobs, you might not yet have a lot of practical industry relevant experience, right? That means you haven't been out there working very many jobs yet. So that's why it's really important that you communicate both your skill set and your character. Consider using adjectives like adaptable, reliable, eager when introducing yourself in your resume objective. Phrases that emphasize your ability to learn, your work ethic, and your determination to succeed are all examples of how you can promote your skills and your character effectively. Okay, so I'll stop share. I know that's a lot of words. I can put it into less words, okay? But I was just reading things last night. So, Yvonne, do you have comments?
I was going to ask, what did you type in to get that page? Just resume objectives, or?
Yes. Yeah, and then I tried it. It said they gave you a little link where you could mail it to yourself, and I did that so that I could like make it smaller and easier, but it never came to me. So, and I didn't have time to just go through and do all my highlighting and make it small and make it into a paper for you, but I will do that because that I know that was wordy, but I thought it was relevant.
Yeah. Okay, I'll see if I can find it, and if I can find it, then I can resend it to you so you know you can get back to it.
So yeah, so it's only a couple of sentences. Andrew, what is it that you're looking at right now?
Just my hand.
Okay, does it look to your team like you care about what's going on here?
What do you mean?
Well, when you're not giving any eye contact and you're just looking down?
No.
Okay. We only have 18 minutes. You can do this. Mondays are hard in the first place, and after a week off, they can be even a little bit harder, but we've got them to do.
Well, especially if you have a time change, and that's really hard for me, so.
Okay. You know? All right, so I just had something I wanted to do and you threw me off. Royce, I got behind the gun for your IEP. It's coming right up.
When?
Well, I emailed Leanne yesterday. It's supposed to be, I believe, like March 3rd or 6th. So anyway, I emailed her today. But it's coming right up. So I'm going to send you the introduction, and we're going to have to start getting some stuff together. I'm going to look through your assessments and stuff that I have and see what else we need, but we'll definitely need your introduction. Yes, Stefan?
That actually reminded me of what you texted me yesterday. Can I talk to you about that after my one-on-one with Miss Yvonne? If you're not busy, that is.
Talk to me about what? Your meeting?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, that's just a meeting with Alta. But yeah, you can talk to me, and I'll be in the meeting too. In fact, I sent you the invite. I was planning on you and me in the classroom and doing it together, but at this moment, I don't have the answer to whether we'll be in the classroom tomorrow or not. But I believe it's at 10:30.
I really hope you.
I know. I'm so sorry. You were the number one I was bummed about because I knew you wanted to get back in there. I knew you all did, pretty much. Where's Miss Eleanor?
Well, thank you.
Oh, here you go. Sure. Do you want to just stay on for a minute after we're done?
Hey.
Yes.
Hi, Eleanor.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Hello. All right, so I'm also working on, the onboarding process, and Yvonne and John, you may or may not have some people Wednesday helping them with their application. I sent out an email to all the teachers, and I plan another evening one for Thursday, but the dates I put down to help with the applications are this Wednesday and next Wednesday. So I'll have to find out more information about that first.
Okay.
Ooh, and Nathan's probably should be on your side, I believe, like starting today, but I haven't heard anything on that either.
Oh, great. I haven't heard anything from my boss yet either.
Stefan, can you sit still? Stefan.
Yeah, sorry.
Sounds like you're listening to music, or it looks like you're listening to music and doing a little dance. All right.
No, it's completely silent here. Sorry. That's just me.
Okay. Tyler, you are the only person that has a completely blank interview questions.
Well, I know I have them somewhere. I didn't think it was blank.
Well, what I have in Google Classroom is blank.
Oh, sorry. I'll get to that right away.
Okay. So how is your program going, and do you need any help?
Well, luckily I got help over the weekend with measurements of chemical mixing, and I think I'm doing good so far.
Okay. Are you speaking up in class?
Yeah.
Yeah? You promise? You can't just sit there silent in the background and get a good grade. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Just like in here, how we practice. They want to see that you're interested, and they want you to have questions. Okay? And please don't ever start feeling overwhelmed in there. Come to us first. We can help you. Okay? You've got 3 of us that can help you, but if you don't let us know you need help, then we really can't help you. Right?
Right.
So try not to be too stoic, right? We're here for you. So if you need us, please let us know. All right?
Okay.
Sam, how's your job and your Apex?
It's going good.
Both of them are good?
Yeah.
Did you work any extra over the holiday?
Yeah, but Saturday I did 12-hour shift Saturday.
Wow, that's a good shift. Get a little overtime on that, huh? Good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jordan, we need to get you out there working, right? So John and Jordan, are you focused on that?
Yes, me and Jordan currently, we did look on, actually, over the break, I did apply for Walmart, the one on Antelope Road here. I did apply for Walmart, but they didn't, have us show them the resume. All they did was, took me through, 2 assessments. I did both of them, and then I failed those. And then it was okay, done. It's
we worked on the assessments together. But I don't want to give her all the all the correct answers, but we're going to redo some of the assessments.
So is that online?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and you're going to keep applying more places? I mean, we're only a few months from being done, and my goal for you, Jordan, is that you are definitely employed before we're done with the school year.
Yes, I'm going to apply more places.
Yeah.
I have been looking at more places to apply for because I do want to get a job by the time we're done.
Yeah.
Or at least get a job so then I can be working by the time we're done so I can make money. Because that's what Aunt Lonnie wants for me too. She doesn't want me in the house bored. Just what do I do here?
Right. I mean, honestly, you should be putting in, I don't know, I think a minimum of 4 applications a week.
Okay.
Not 1 a month, right? 1 a month is really hard to get hired that way. So I'm glad you're working on it, but I would like to see you pick up that pace.
Okay.
Okay? And don't even say that you can't work during these hours. Be available. If you can't come to class because you're working, that's what it's all about. and we're happy to work around it. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so you can be available like from what, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.? I mean, availability is a big part, and of course, applying, because if you're not applying, they don't know you're looking for a job, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is that a good plan?
Yes, that is.
So what do we say? How many applications a week?
3 or 4, because that way they know I'm applying. And I was also thinking about, talking to Aunt Lonnie and seeing if we can like go, because some stores when you go to them they will have that sign that says hiring now. And I was thinking about asking her if we could go look for the stores that say hiring now, so I can get an application from them, and then she can help me with that application, because my writing's not so good. It's more speed writing. So she can help me with the application, and then we can take it back to them.
Okay, but you should also have you should have all your information written somewhere for your application. You should have your resume done. You should have a copy of your resumes on resume paper. Do you have all that?
I do not. I have one copy of my resume that I was supposed to take with me to McDonald's when I was supposed to apply there, but I still have that copy.
Okay, and you've got your portfolio, right?
Yes.
That is, you shouldn't go apply anywhere without it. You should have copies of your resume. You should have all your facts written down. Are you going to go in a place and they say, sure, sit down and fill out this application. You're going to go, well, my writing isn't very good, so I'm going to take it home so my aunt can fill it out for me. Or are you going to take your time and sit down there and do it neatly and slowly and get her done?
I'm going to take my time and do it slowly.
I mean, if someone was to come to me to apply for a job and say they weren't going to fill it out right then because they wanted their parents to help them with it, I'd be like, yeah, probably not. Right?
Yeah.
So I need to see that. Woo!
I wanted to add something.
Go ahead.
So also we looked at several places to apply to, correct, Jordan? We looked at the grocery store next to your house. We went on there, and also me and Jordan worked on how to bag groceries. We talked about that, and I brought over a bunch of groceries.
That I passed.
We practiced, right?
The grocery thing I passed because I know, because he bought chemicals, food, and bread and other stuff, and I passed that because I put the chemicals in one bag, the food in one bag, and then the chips, bread, and milk in another, because I know, same thing with bread, you don't want to put bread on the bottom because it can get smushed like eggs, but I passed that.
Good. Okay, so to me, that's awesome. So why aren't your applications out at 6 grocery stores? Right? I really think the speed has got to get up. The volume's got to get up here.
Okay.
Okay? All right?
Okay.
Anybody else have things they're working on or need to be working on? Andrew, go ahead.
So for one thing, I finished all the checks, but I haven't sent you the pictures of it yet.
Good job. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of keep it where we're doing our Monday, Tuesday, you know how I kind of started, and everything doesn't stay the same, but that we're kind of doing the resumes and the applications, and then Thursday, Friday, we're working more on the financial parts. Okay, but that's very awesome. Good job, Andrew.
Also, I finally got a chance to find my bingo card, which I found finally.
Did I get your paper? Did you send me your paper on how to be prepared? Okay. The ones that didn't get to play bingo are the ones that are supposed to turn that assignment into me.
I'll get it done right away.
Thank you.
I turned mine in.
Yes, I read yours, Stefan. Good job. And Tyler, did you play bingo that day or did you lose your card?
I had my card that day.
Okay, yours is good because it looked like you went to turn yours in, but it was blank. But you don't have to do it if you were in the class. Who else didn't have their bingo card? That it? I thought we have more than that.
I think it was Stefan.
I didn't
It was also Eleanor.
Okay, so Eleanor, you were supposed to write yours, how to be prepared. And Eleanor, I got to say, I want to give you a compliment. Your interview questions, you're good to go. Jonathan, whoever is working with Jonathan, his is blank. Okay, Jonathan needs to get a job too, right, Jonathan?
Right.
So who are you working with these days, John?
Yeah, 9:40.
Okay, because it's completely blank. All right, and you know, Jonathan, you're going to need extra time to practice saying it, so you've got to get it written so that you can say it. Okay, honestly, with these numbers going down, I mean, no one's told me we get back in. I just know that we can go back out there when it gets in the red, and I know we've got to be getting closer. And at least for even the outside work, or I'm trying to get you all back out there working. But even to interview with Kaiser managers, you've got to have your resume and you've got to be able to answer interview questions. Okay, without those two things, we're kind of stuck. So if you don't want to just stay in these boxes or just stay in our classroom all the time, you need to get prepared, because I can't set you up an interview if you don't have those two things ready. Go ahead, Stefan.
My mom said that they're getting close to
You're breaking up.
giving us the vaccine. So
Getting closer? Yeah.
She told me.
Okay, you're really breaking up. Stefan, you're breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
You're breaking up. But yes, they are getting closer. And won't it be sad if we've had this
I want
much?
to say that.
It'll be sad if we've gone through this much of our school year already and they say, okay, you can come back, and we're not ready. Wouldn't that be just like real sad? Okay, so these are very important things to get done right now, all right? Resumes and interview questions. We need them. I can reassign the resume because I don't know that we quite assigned it. Where'd my pen go? So I will work on the resume. Okay.
I need to go to get the other Zoom meeting.
What's that, Tyler?
I need to go
Okay.
to the other Zoom meeting.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Oh, I'm not sure what we're doing later. Come to my Zoom later, I guess.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Tyler.
Bye. Hi, Graham.
kind of touch up a bunch of holes from the previous owner. Painted, did wainscoting, backdrop for video shooting, and then the curtain that you see, which is a 3-layer thick sound curtain. So reduces the noises and keeps the temperatures a little bit more stable. So
yeah, Dad's in session when the curtain's drawn.
That's right.
Nice.
So last week, I think it was last week when my mom walked in, because my mother lives with us. My dad had passed away last year. So we moved her in with us. And she still doesn't quite grasp the concept that I'm in a Zoom meeting, even though she's used it. So, yeah.
Where were all these questions before I started work in the Zoom?
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I have the whole weekend. I have the whole afternoon. Let's see if we've got everybody. 1, 2, 3. I think we're just missing Naomi. We get everybody's attendance real quick, and then we'll get started. I'm going to message Therese real quick and then be right back. All right, good. So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
wanted to apologize for not getting out some of that information I told you I would get done on Friday. No excuses, just as it was. A couple things got in my way. So this morning I did get up, get that posted into the class, and I'll share my screen so I can share with you information on our Google Classroom. So you should be seeing, yep, there we go, the Google Classroom. And a couple things that are now posted in the classroom is ISSA testing. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. There's some instructions for it. We will finish today's half of the class going into and showing you guys how we do the tests. And you'll notice that it's not much different from what you saw in the written format. So, but under chemistry of cleaning, I included the information on dilution ratios. I'll point out some information here. Let's see if I can make that a little bit bigger for you guys. Let's do it in my edit so you guys can see. It's got some step-by-step instructions on, and I did this in two separate assignments. One is calculating the amount of chemical in a bottle, the dilution ratio for a different product size. So if the question asks, you know, how much is in that bottle, this is how you guys can figure it out. So it goes through step by step. And I put about 10 questions, 5 of them related to this, and an additional, so these are related to different size bottles, and this is related to dilution into a gallon jug. Okay, I hope that helps you guys with that. So follow the instructions on it. It should help you. And then a second one called More on Dilutions. This particular one is in relation to the idea of ounces per gallon. If we are given the ounces per gallon, what is the ratio? So there's another 5 questions. So there's about 15 questions in all. I did not put a time frame of when this is due. This is really for you guys to practice with. And then from there we can be able to, I can help you with it. So as you do it, just like I did in the other, you can do this on a separate page and submit it, and I'm more than happy to help you through that. Again, the purpose is just to give you more problems to be able to solve. So, give me a second, guys. Okay, next portion of this is moving along in our discussion about disinfecting. And then today, as I mentioned, we'll discuss bloodborne pathogens and then safety data sheets. So within our class, I have put some information. I want to share with you the first one is the concept of applying a disinfectant. Now, up until just recently, most of the time we would apply it, we would do one of 2 ways. We would use a disinfectant wipe, or we might use a trigger sprayer, spray bottle with a trigger sprayer, and spray disinfectants on. Technology is changing, and as I may have mentioned the other day about electrostatic sprayers, if anybody has ever seen something that is powder coated, the technology used for powder coating involves using a sprayer that has a electrical charge. And what it does is it charges the molecules so that it will stick to the surface and it literally wraps around it. So to help us understand this, I have a really cool video from a company that did their homework and put this together on YouTube. So let me share that with the class, and we'll take it from there.
During these tough times concerning the COVID-19 virus, you've worked hard to ensure a clean facility. Today, we know that traditional cleaning alone is not enough, and protective measures are essential. This revolutionary technology is the first choice for our clients in attacking pathogens and disinfecting in places traditional methods cannot. Here is a little bit of science. The electrostatic disinfecting treatment works by first turning liquid disinfectant into small droplets. Then, each droplet gets electrically charged, which causes them to be drawn to and adhere to surfaces with a force stronger than gravity. This creates a superior coverage to traditional methods, and as a result, a great protection against many of the most harmful bacteria and viruses, including COVID-19.
The spray is atomized as the droplets pass an electrode inside of the nozzle head. Electrons are induced onto the droplets as they leave the nozzle with a highly negative charge. The negatively charged droplets are carried by a stream of air following the electrical field of force lines towards the target without losing their charge. The closer the charged droplets get to the target, the stronger the electrostatic force of attraction. The droplets have a force of attraction 75 times that of gravity, allowing them to reverse direction, move upwards against gravity, and wrap around the target, coating all hidden surface areas and providing complete and total coverage.
Within minutes, the fine spray dries, and the BioPlanet protective product bonds to the surface area, ready to destroy deadly and harmful organisms.
So the concept is a pretty cool concept because the idea is if we can get the disinfectant to cover more surface area and at the same time allow it to stick to the surface better, we're going to get a more effective kill. And here's where this becomes a real factor. If you imagine in a preschool environment, what do we deal with? We deal with children who are touching things and putting things in their mouth, right? And especially is this the case where lots of kids are playing with toys, such as in a preschool environment. So in that environment, it's one of the most critical. In fact, most counties who do the inspections of preschools will require that the preschool washes the toys daily with the bleach water solution to be able to get it, because they want to make sure the entire surface is clean. These electrostatic sprayers allow us to take a bleach water solution and be able to spray it, and it creates almost a fog because it's very finely atomized, just the way the sprayer works. And as you saw, not only does it spray a much finer particle, but it also creates a charge to it, a negative charge. And surfaces themselves have a positive charge. So as a result, it grabs a hold of it, wraps around and grabs a hold of that, and allows the disinfectant to get complete contact and much longer contact time or dwell time. Therefore, more effective disinfecting. this is, if I'm working in a healthcare environment, this is a fantastic tool. If I'm working in education sector, where I especially dealing with children, the K through 6 in particular, again, effective tool. It's interesting because of COVID, we now have seen a development of companies who this is all they do. They'll go in after a school or after healthcare and regularly spray these units or spray these disinfectants. They're even using antimicrobial coatings that continue to have a kill long after they're sprayed. So it's developed a whole new industry within the cleaning industry. So fantastic tool. Again, purpose of our class, you guys to have more understanding of the technology and how we can use that. And this definitely is the newest technology in our industry. I've actually seen them around for a number of years, last 3 years or so, 3-4 years. But the reality is they weren't being used just like any other tool. If it sits there and it's not being used, it doesn't do anybody any good. So, okay.
Dave, can I?
Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Nelson.
Yes. Yes, we have that tool, electro sprayer, and at the same time, because I work at an elementary school and we have 2 class in section, like 10 students. So what I do, I still have to clean. That's the first number. That's the first rule. Clean, empty your trash, get everything prepared for later on to order to use the spray gun, the electro spray gun. And it do work. Now I got a clear understanding because this is my first time seeing the video. And when you don't see nothing, don't have knowledge, you're curious. How do this, seem like it is spraying the ozone, but how it's really working? But this will be a good tool, a good video to show to the custodian in Elk Grove School District so they could be educated. So they just thinking that it is spraying, but they don't know the concepts behind the electro.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I think that's one of the advantages of our class is for you guys to have that understanding why things work. Why do they, why do we use this tool? One of the things I am talking with Tony about is a training course so that we can help to get this out to all custodians, because the reality is with over 300 custodians in the district, only a small portion have come through this training program. So we want to get this information out to everybody, and there's ways that we can accomplish that, and we're working with him on that one. So I appreciate the feedback on that.
Hey, David. So now with these trends, does it sound like school districts? I understand that a lot of companies operate on razor-thin budgets. Mm-hmm. So does it seem as though that's why I generally was talking about healthcare in the medical space, because I thought that would increase my odds of being more consistent, being a new custodian.
Yep.
And that they would spend money or might have the money in the health system to have some of that tech, and then I learn these techniques and that'll just carry me forward. But does it seem like they're making the investments in what's necessary now due to COVID?
Just like in any industry, it's related to the person who's making those decisions. There is more pressure on the custodial departments from the board of supervisors for the district and from the superintendents, because we have to look at the environment we're in. We're dealing with this pandemic. Obviously, there's a lot of political pressure to reopen schools. Nelson, you mentioned, you've got some classes where you have 10 students. A lot of what we're seeing right now is small class sizes because parents still don't feel safe to send their children back. And going back to answer your question, if a manager or director in the district educates themselves and this information is out there. It is out there, I think, more than it ever has been. So as a result, you're seeing more of the managers educating themselves and learning about this technology. And then it's a case of them utilizing it. And the second part of it is there is money available for school districts to reopen and reopen safely. And that may mean investing in these tools. I know I have friends who work for manufacturers of a variety of these tools. And I can tell you that schools are the ones buying more of them than anybody else. And the manufacturers have had to ramp up their process of building more of these electrostatic sprayers because the wait list at one point last year was a 4-month wait list. So if you back in February or March, there was such a long line that they weren't getting delivery till like June and July. So it's gotten better. They ramped up production. But ultimately, I will go back to what you're saying, Tony. You made a choice, or you're making a choice. You're looking at the healthcare versus the school districts just for consistency. I will tell you one of the biggest problems within school districts is lack of consistency. Nelson, you might be able to attest to this. And I think, Christina, you work for the school district too, right? So
yeah, but I work for the maintenance department.
Okay, you're a maintenance, right?
Yes.
Within custodial, a lot of what happens is, and it's not every district, so I'm not picking on Elk Grove in particular, but up until recently, what's happened within a school district is training happens where there's a brief orientation, and then it's up to the sites to train. So, you may have a really good custodian or head custodian at a school who's going to train you, and they have a lot of education, a lot of stuff that they're trying to share. Then you have another one who has a completely different way of doing things that maybe isn't so informative. So it's not as consistent. Whereas in a healthcare, because now we're talking about spread of disease and so forth, the standards are much more consistent, especially within a hospital environment. Those are probably the highest standards, which is what you would expect. And that, again, as I mentioned the other day, has to do with hospital-acquired infections. Hospitals are much more aware of that, so their cleaning standards are usually stricter and more standardized than what we find in a school. I believe what you're going to see happen in the next 2 years is some major changes regarding that in schools. We're going to be raising our level. And Elk Grove, honestly, is they're an example to a lot of districts in the state because they do tend to spend more time in research and development of new technologies to assist them. So I'm actually very proud of what Elk Grove's done over the last 20 years of my career. So
because you mentioned something about Elk Grove having a bridge program a while back, Perch Day. What is that bridge?
That's a learning management software tool.
Oh, okay.
That is something we're looking at. It is not, they haven't exactly adopted it yet. They do utilize it for teachers, that learning management program, for certain courses we have to take.
Okay.
So, and there's another program that I may have mentioned that is where you as students coming through this class, when you decide to go, if you wanted to go to work for the district, typically they give preferential treatment to graduates of our program because it's from Elk Grove School District. They know the curriculum, and we've had a lot of partnership with the custodial department to bring this together. So we work closely with Tony, who's the manager of the custodial department, and try and share that information. So I will tell you, and it's not existing this year, but I believe next year we are going to we hope to go back to a program that was called job shadowing. And we think that'll happen for next school year. So it just is, it got put on hold due to COVID.
Yeah, I'll share just briefly because I know that Robert had shared an experience that he had when he had joined up with an organization. I don't know if it was commercial janitorial, and then his experience was lack of training, and then he's moved on. I went over into Stockton because Stockton has a workshop towards certification. I saw that. I tested. There was about 50 people in a room that day. It was about a 4-hour presentation by the day lead, I guess, or day head custodian, or the person that oversees day shift, and then the person that oversees night shift. And then you had to take a test that same day. So I had those general questions. I said, hey, is there shadowing? Is there training? Will I have any kind of, set schedule? And so some of those guys that ran that district said, we used to do that. We did it years ago, but we don't do it anymore. But yeah, they just require like a 70% pass rate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because one of the guys who helped to implement some of the standards out at Stockton Unified now is currently the director of custodial for UC Davis school campus. And so he's huge in education. And in fact, he's pushed to get somebody with my credentials working and employed for the university. So they now have an ISSA certified instructor who works for UC Davis. They created a position, and he is the director of training out there at UC Davis. So, for me, I'm excited when I see that. To me, that tells me a lot about how they value the education and the training. I'm trying to work closely with them in my capacity of manager of training services at Integrity Training. Because I think we can be able to give him a lot more tools to help him grow his training program. So.
Yeah, because I know that, you're told, that the silver tsunami is happening, meaning that people are retiring. They're moving on.
Yes.
So this sets a great precedence for, having the ability to retain people who come in and let them look at this as a career.
Well, an interesting point too, guys, is the fact that right now within our industry, one, due to the pandemic, we've seen a rise in the hiring. There's just so many more positions available. But number two, retention in our industry is a challenge. Matter of fact, we're putting together something that we're going to present to the industry at their trade show next November. The idea of how do we improve employee retention through training? Because one of the big reasons why people have left our industry is a lack of training. They've seen it and get frustrated. They're frustrated with the inconsistencies. So it is a goal of ours to improve that as a industry. Okay, so let's move into the next portion of this, and that is to talk about two issues, and that will wrap up our discussion about chemicals. We have talked about disinfectants. We've talked about how chemicals work. But the next portion of this has to relate to the concern, and these are OSHA guidelines, regarding the transference of disease. We talked about pathogens through blood, and we refer to that as bloodborne pathogens, okay? Microorganisms that are spread through blood and bodily fluids that could cause people to get sick. Automatically, we all probably think of HIV, but we also might think of things like hepatitis or HBV, other viruses that are spread through the blood or other bodily fluids. This next training portion was put together by a company called Betco. Betco is one of the chemical manufacturers in the cleaning industry. I like to pull a lot of information from good resources, and when I saw this a while back, I was very impressed with their content, how they develop this and how they convey the ideas. So I'm going to allow them to train this portion of the class. It's about I think this first one's about 15 minutes, and then we'll talk about it for a few minutes, and then we'll go into the OSHA regulations regarding safety data sheets and labeling. So, and this information, by the way, is contained in your Google Classroom. So let's go back into the Google Classroom. And I posted these videos. We'll start with the bloodborne pathogen.
There is a lot of talk these days about HIV and AIDS, HBV or hepatitis B virus, and the dangers of getting infected by coming into contact with someone else's blood. In your profession, you can face many situations that could potentially cause you to come in contact with blood or body fluids from other individuals. Whether it's removing trash that contains a used syringe, handling laundry soiled with blood, or simply cleaning up after a sick child, the precautions you follow for handling these procedures could mean preventing serious illness or even death. That's why OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, has developed the Bloodborne Pathogen Standard to provide guidelines that will help you eliminate, or at least reduce, your exposure to HBV, HIV, and other bloodborne pathogens while in the workplace. This video, which is included in Betco's university training courses, focuses on OSHA's Bloodborne Pathogen Standard for the workplace. This video will cover what are bloodborne pathogens, who is covered by the OSHA Bloodborne Pathogen Standard, what is exposure, following universal precautions, protective practices, what if exposure occurs, HBV symptoms, HIV symptoms, and employer responsibilities. Betco has over 300 specialty cleaning products and a full line of equipment and accessories. Prior to using any cleaning chemical, be sure that you read the label and consult the safety data sheet for that product. Before going any further, let's provide a definition for bloodborne pathogens. Bloodborne pathogens are pathogenic microorganisms that are present in human blood and can cause disease in humans. These pathogens include, but are not limited to, hepatitis B virus, HBV, and human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, associated with AIDS. OSHA originally developed the bloodborne standard for healthcare and hospital employees, but it has been expanded to include any occupation in which reasonably anticipated contact with blood or other potentially infectious materials may occur, including someone who may be responsible for the cleanup of blood or body fluids, or even those who remove trash or handle laundry. Within these settings, there may be potentially infectious materials, and how you take care of them can literally make the difference between life and death. Most occupational exposure to bloodborne pathogens occurs when the pathogen comes in contact with the employee's mucous membranes, like the nose or mouth, or breaks in the skin, like needle sticks, human bites, cuts, or abrasions. Body fluids such as blood, vomit, and in some instances, saliva, can potentially contain bloodborne pathogens. but you can easily protect yourself from coming into contact with the fluids by following universal precautions. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention established the universal precaution approach, recommending that blood and certain body fluids from all patients be considered potentially infectious, and that infection control precautions be taken to minimize the risk of exposure. This is the approach taken by OSHA in the bloodborne standard. The best defense is a thorough offense. Always follow universal precautions, as well as your facility's exposure control plan when handling contaminated materials. This means that at all times, assume that all blood and most body fluids are contaminated with bloodborne pathogens, and that you should follow proper protective practices when handling a cleanup or an exposure. Alternative color coding or labeling of laundry is acceptable if all of the soiled laundry is handled using universal precautions, and the labeling or color coding is sufficient to let all employees know that compliance with universal precautions is required. If laundry is shipped to a location that does not use universal precautions, the bags or containers must be properly labeled and color-coded red or orange. Remember that needles or other sharp objects may be hidden within the laundry. Wear personal protective gear if you are responsible for handling contaminated laundry. Besides protecting yourself, you are responsible for containing the bloodborne pathogens and decontaminating the area so someone else isn't exposed. It is crucial to clean and disinfect the area with the appropriate disinfectant cleaner. After a cleanup procedure, always remove and dispose of your gloves and other equipment in a properly labeled container or a red or orange infectious waste bag. Thoroughly wash your hands with a hand cleaner immediately after you remove the gloves, goggles, or other personal protective equipment. Good hand washing helps reduce the spread of infection and disease. All containers and cleaning equipment, such as mop buckets and tongs used during decontamination, must be disinfected following use. If there is any chance that you have been exposed to bloodborne pathogens, contact your supervisor immediately for specific instructions on exposure protocol. Also, notify your physician. Once an exposure occurs, be sure to pay attention to your health and watch for any symptoms that are related to HIV or HBV. Hepatitis B, or HBV, is a type of liver disease that inflames the liver and leads to liver damage and sometimes even liver cancer. HBV has the following symptoms: fatigue, abdominal pain, loss of appetite, nausea, jaundice, vomiting, diarrhea, light-colored stools, and dark urine. HBV symptoms may not appear for some time after initial exposure. Notify your healthcare provider immediately if you think you may be at risk for HBV. Hepatitis B vaccinations must be made available at no cost to all employees who have occupational exposure. Vaccinations must be provided after initial bloodborne pathogen training and within 10 working days of any assignment, which could result in occupational exposure. If someone should contract HIV, they may develop AIDS, or acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Symptoms of HIV infection could include constant fatigue, sore throat, persistent fever, persistent rash of unknown origin, night sweats, persistent swollen glands, mild to severe flu-like symptoms. Just like HBV, HIV symptoms may not appear for many years after the exposure. If you think you may be at risk for HIV, contact your healthcare provider immediately. OSHA requires that each job site in which there is a reasonable likelihood of bloodborne pathogen exposure have a written exposure control plan, and it must be kept updated. Reviewing the plan, at least annually, is an important part of knowing how to protect yourself. Your supervisor should provide a copy upon request. OSHA requires specific documentation from your employer. When an exposure occurs, your employer must maintain certain records for 3 years after the exposure. Now that you understand OSHA's concern for your health and safety, take time to see how your employer has responded to the challenge. You may want to read your facility's written exposure plan. Always take universal precautions when there's a chance you could be exposed to bloodborne pathogens. Remember these protective practices when you're facing bloodborne pathogen concerns. Always wear personal protective equipment. Never eat, drink, smoke, or apply lip balm in areas in which there's a possibility of bloodborne pathogen exposure. Never manually compress trash. Avoid splashing or spattering when cleaning up. Never reuse towels or sponges. Use spatulas, absorbents, or tongs for cleanup, when possible. Handle contaminated laundry cautiously. Use properly labeled or color-coded containers and bags when disposing of or transporting materials contaminated with bloodborne pathogens. This includes gloves, laundry, and equipment. Always decontaminate surfaces and/or areas with Betco disinfectants. Always properly wash your hands. Disinfect equipment and materials used for cleanup. And if you think you may have been exposed to bloodborne pathogens, contact your supervisor and physician immediately. If you need more information, ask your supervisor or check out the OSHA website at www.osha.gov. You can also contact your regional OSHA office. Remember, you play an important role in preventing or reducing contact with bloodborne pathogens to others, as well as yourself. Be proud that you and your employer have taken the time to learn more about the OSHA bloodborne standard and use your knowledge to make a difference in creating a safe, clean, and healthy environment. Employees in a healthcare setting have an even greater risk of exposure to bloodborne pathogens. Here are some additional guidelines developed for your protection. Do not bend, recap, or remove contaminated needles and other contaminated sharps. Put contaminated reusable sharps in designated containers until they can be properly reprocessed. These containers must be puncture-resistant, labeled or color-coded, leak-proof on the sides and bottom. Regularly inspect and decontaminate all bins, pails, and other containers that may have come into contact with infectious waste, such as needle bins or trash receptacles. Of course, follow universal precautions and dispose of all regulated waste according to all applicable local, state, and federal regulations for infectious waste disposal. If you need more information, ask your supervisor or check out the OSHA website at www.osha.gov. For more information, please visit www.betco.com or call 888-GO-BET.
So it's a pretty helpful video for us, and I like it because it covered all the key areas that we typically are concerned with when we start thinking about bloodborne pathogens. So a few helpful suggestions that were in there. One of the comments is never to put your hands into a container such as a trash receptacle. A bad habit that I've seen before is custodians trying to press down garbage. And if you ever have to press it down, take another container like a small garbage can or something to press it down, or use a tool to press it, but never ever put your hand into a garbage can. Don't press down with your hands or anything like that. That's going to lead to you getting poked, cut. You just never know what's in there. I had a bad experience years ago with a can that was put in the garbage can in my home. And I reached into the garbage can, which, I know better, but I caught myself with the lid of a tin can. And the worst part of it isn't that I cut myself. It was just that I was in such an awkward spot that putting a bandage on it was not something that was an easily done. And I ended up having to get about 3 stitches for just a small little cut. But it had to do with where it was at. So from that standpoint, it's just a good, safe practice. Don't put your hands into a container. Several of you are interested in working in the medical field. In working in the medical field, whether you're working in a doctor's office, a dental facility, hospital, anywhere, even like a dialysis facility, needles are used a lot in these facilities. It mentioned never recap a needle, okay? Never break or try and pick it up a needle that way. If they are broken, we would use a broom and dustpan to pick it up, but they always go into the sharps container for proper disposal. The other is in dealing with bloodborne pathogens. You saw in the video that they talked about these things can happen a lot through things like blood spills, bodily fluids like vomit. A good safe practice is anytime you're dealing with bodily fluids, to wear gloves always, wash your hands after you remove your gloves, to properly dispose of it, putting down a lot of times a gel powder or some sort of absorbent material to absorb the spill, letting it absorb up, sweeping that up or scooping it up, and then afterwards spraying a disinfectant spray, allow it to have the dwell time, and then wipe it clean. Just good, safe practices regarding bloodborne pathogens. Our book outlines some basic reminders along those lines. I'm not going to go through every single step, but that video really covers it the most thoroughly I've seen. If you want a long, drawn-out, boring PowerPoint presentation on it, you're welcome to go to OSHA.gov and look at the bloodborne pathogen standard. It doesn't give you a lot of video. You know, it's just kind of a long PowerPoint kind of presentation. So, any questions on bloodborne pathogens? I know I'm covering it quickly, but this is kind of a very basic coverage of it. Okay, so let's move on to our next portion of it, because it ties hand in hand with bloodborne pathogens. Is OSHA regulations regarding hazardous communications. So let me show you that in our class as well. And again, these videos the links are in your Google Classroom.
'Purpose' by an 83 million workers that are exposed to hazardous chemicals in the workplace. OSHA statistics show about 15% of all workplace injuries and fatalities relate to chemical exposure. Physical, health, fire, and other hazards can occur on a daily basis. With over 500,000 different chemicals throughout the world, OSHA has modified the Hazard Communication Standard, HCS, by adopting provisions of the Globally Harmonized System, GHS, to assist workers with the information they need to recognize and avoid hazardous chemicals. Upon completion of this training module, you will be able to state the purpose of the HazCom standard, recognize who is covered by the HazCom standard, state the 4 basic parts of the HazCom standard, state the purpose of the Globally Harmonized System, GHS, identify physical and health hazards of chemicals, recognize what should be included in the Written Hazard Communication Program, recognize the information contained in a Safety Data Sheet, SDS, and how it is used and maintained in the workplace, recognize the information contained on product labels and how it is used and maintained in the workplace, list the elements of the HazCom Standard Training Program. All employees have the right to know the potential hazards the chemicals in the work area pose. Before working with or using chemicals, each employee should understand the health and physical hazards of the materials. Proper handling and storage of chemicals can begin to reduce the risk of chemical incidents in the workplace. Some chemicals can cause different serious health effects, like cancer, nervous system damage, lung damage, liver damage, kidney damage, and reproductive system effects. OSHA, or the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is a government agency that was founded in 1970 to ensure safe and healthy working conditions for employees. The HAZCOM standard achieves its purpose by an integrated four-pronged system. First, chemical manufacturers and importers must review available scientific evidence concerning the physical and health hazards of the chemicals they produce or import and make an assessment if they are hazardous. Second, the employer must have a written hazard communication program in the workplace, and there must be someone responsible for keeping it up to date. Employees must familiarize themselves with the program and understand how it is implemented in the facility. This written HAZCOM program lists all of the hazardous materials at the worksite. It explains how the employer informs employees about new and existing hazards. It also notes the location of SDSs and who is responsible for updating them. Finally, it includes information about safe handling and recommended personal protective equipment, PPE. Third, for every chemical found to be hazardous, the chemical manufacturer or importer must develop comprehensive safety data sheets, SDS, and labels for containers, and send both with the chemicals to users. The employer must maintain a current hazardous chemical inventory form, which will be located with the SDS sheets. It is a best practice to have SDS sheets for all chemicals located and used in the facility. Fourth, all employers must provide information and training to employees about the hazardous chemicals in their workplace. Proper training will ensure that all employees will know how to read and use SDSs, will know what protection is required to work safely with the chemicals in the workplace, and will be able to determine what actions to take if an emergency occurs. What is GHS? GHS is an international approach to hazard communication, providing generally accepted criteria for classification of chemical hazards and a standardized approach to label elements and safety data sheets. This system provides classification criteria for health, physical, and environmental hazards of chemicals. It also includes standardized label elements that are assigned to these hazard classifications and categories and provide the appropriate signal words, pictograms, and hazard and precautionary statements to convey the hazards to users. GHS also provides a standardized 16-section safety data sheet format for all chemical products. Who is covered? Chemical producers, manufacturers, and importers will need to review the hazard information for all their chemicals produced or imported, classify them using the new criteria, and update their labels and SDSs accordingly for distribution and end users. Employers will need to use these new labels and SDSs and provide updated training for all employees. Everyone that was covered previously by the OSHA HAZCOM standard will continue to be covered by this revised program. Hazardous materials. Many people characterize a hazardous chemical as one that could burn your skin, is flammable, could cause long-term health effects, cancer-causing, corrosive, toxic, or can damage specific body organs, which is true. However, OSHA also includes products that may cause minor irritation, like shampoos and detergents, which may cause temporary redness or itching of the skin or watery eyes as hazardous. Chemical hazard classifications. Physical hazards, such as flammability or explosion, which can potentially cause serious accidents and injuries. Health hazards can affect a person's health either in the short term or in the long term. Environmental hazards can affect aquatic life in the short term or in the long term. GHS will not address environmental hazards, since they are regulated by other agencies. An essential part of a hazard communication program is labeling. This is a quick, easy way for employees to see the most important information about the product they are working with, the product's name, any hazard warnings, directions for use, first aid, and the manufacturer's name and address. All Betco brand labels also include helpful telephone numbers for questions and comments from users. Labeling requirements include the following. The GHS label format specifies for each hazard classification and for each category what signal word, pictogram, hazard statements, and precautionary statements should be used. This information must be located on the label. The actual label format or layout is not specified in the GHS program. Product identifier, name or number used for a hazardous product on a label or in the SDS. Signal word will be used to emphasize hazards and indicate the relative level of severity of the hazard assigned to a GHS hazard classification and category. Only one signal word should be used on a label: danger, severe, or warning, less severe. Some lower-level hazard categories do not use signal words. Hazard statement. a specific statement assigned to a hazard classification and category that describes the nature of the hazards of a chemical, including the degree of hazard. Appropriate statements for each GHS hazard of the product are included on each label. There are 2 hazard classifications, physical and health hazards. Each of these classifications has specific categories. Pictograms are symbols plus other graphic elements that are intended to convey specific information about the hazards of a chemical. They are composed of a white background and red borders with the appropriate GHS symbol. Precautionary statement, a phrase that describes the recommended measures to be taken to minimize or prevent adverse effects resulting from exposure to a hazardous chemical. The precautionary statements have been linked to each GHS hazard statement and type of hazard. The 4 types of precautionary statements are prevention, response in cases of accidental spillage or exposure, storage, and disposal. Example, a precautionary statement of eye irritant will also state use protective eyewear. Supplemental information. Information on the container of a hazardous product that is not required or specified under the GHS. Supplemental information may be used to provide further details that does not contradict or cast doubt on the validity of the standardized hazard information. Example, the label could include the color, fragrance, or VOC level of the product. OSHA is maintaining the approach used in the previous HCS that allows employers to use workplace-specific labeling systems, such as secondary labeled spray bottles, as long as the employer provides the required GHS information. Product containers of chemicals that have been poured from one container to another also require the same specific labeling. The OSHA standard states that it is not necessary to label a container that you have poured from one container to another if the entire contents will be used or disposed of during a standard shift, such as a mop bucket or a spray bottle. Employers may choose to label workplace containers either with the same label that would be on shipped containers or with label alternatives that meet the requirements for the standard. Vetco provides self-stick labels for secondary labeling purposes. Employers should provide the containers, self-stick labels, or provide information on appropriate labeling. In addition to these OSHA labeling requirements, an employer may choose to add additional information, such as the NFPA or HMIS ratings on container labels. Never use or handle an unlabeled container. If you find a container that is not labeled, notify your supervisor immediately. Pictograms are symbols plus other graphic elements that are intended to convey specific information about the hazards of a chemical. Pictograms will consist of a symbol on a white background framed within a red border, which represents a distinct hazard. The pictogram on the label is determined by the chemical hazard classification. These are the required pictograms for use on chemical labels. The Hazard Communication Standard, or HCS, requires chemical manufacturers, distributors, or importers to provide safety data sheets, or SDSs, formerly known as Material Safety Data Sheets, or MSDSs, to communicate the hazards of hazardous chemical products. SDSs must be provided with the first shipment and anytime the information changes. They must be obtained for all hazardous chemicals in the workplace before they are used. It is a best practice to have SDSs for all chemicals used at the facility. SDSs will have most of the information found on the label, plus more specific information about the chemical organized into 16 mandatory sections, which are in line with the format established by the American National Standards Institute, ANSI. It will provide comprehensive information about the chemical product that allows employers and workers to obtain concise, relevant, and accurate information that can be put in perspective with regard to the hazards, uses, and risk management of the chemical product in the workplace. Sections 12 through 15 are not mandatory, and OSHA will not be policing the content of these sections because they are outside the scope of its jurisdiction. Examples: ecological information and disposal considerations governed by EPA, transport information, which is governed by DOT, and other regulatory agencies. SDS requirements. Employers can provide SDSs in additional languages, but English is required. SDSs must include information regarding the specific identity of the chemical and common names for it. OSHA's Hazard Communication Standard requires SDSs for the chemicals used in the workplace to be readily accessible to employees. Acceptable methods: paper copies, online access, etc. It is the employee's responsibility to know exactly where SDSs are kept in the workplace and how to read them. Section 1. Identification includes product identifier, manufacturer or distributor name, address, phone number, emergency phone number, recommended uses, and restrictions for use. Section 2. Hazard identification identifies the hazards of the chemical presented on the SDS and the appropriate warning information associated with those hazards. Example: this would be the hazard statement, signal word, pictogram, and precautionary statement from the label. Section 3. Composition information includes chemical ingredients contained in the product with appropriate chemical names and chemical abstract service numbers, CAS, trade secret claims. This is only for the hazardous ingredients. Section 4. First aid measures includes important symptoms, effects, acute, delayed, immediate, and required treatment for the initial care given by untrained responders to a person that has been exposed to the chemical. Section 5. Firefighting measures that list suitable extinguishing techniques, equipment, and chemical hazards from a fire of this chemical. Example: what firefighters should wear while fighting the fire. Section 6. Accidental release measures that list emergency procedures, protective equipment, proper methods of containment and cleanup of spills to minimize exposure to people, properties, or the environment. Example: how to neutralize the chemical and proper disposal methods. Section 7. List precautions for safe handling and storage, including incompatibilities with other chemicals. Example: exhaust fans, temperature limits. Section 8. Exposure controls personal protection. List OSHA's permissible exposure limits, PELs, threshold limit values, TLVs, appropriate engineering controls, exhaust fans, and personal protective equipment, PPE, to minimize workers' risks. Example: eye, face, skin, or respiratory protection. Section 9. Physical and chemical properties that list the chemical's characteristics, like pH, color, fragrance, flash point, and others. Section 10. Stability and reactivity that list chemical stability and possibility of hazardous reactions. This will identify any materials that are not stable with other chemicals. Normally, this will be stable for typical cleaning products. Example: never mix ammonia and bleach. Section 11. Toxicological information includes routes of exposure, related symptoms, acute and chronic effects, and the numerical measures of toxicity. Example: inhalation, ingestion, skin, and eye contact. Section 12. Ecological information. EPA concerns. Information to evaluate the impact if the chemical were released into the environment. Section 13. Disposal considerations. EPA concerns. Proper disposal practices, recycling or reclamation of the chemical or its container, and safe handling practices. Section 14. Transport information. DOT concerns. Shipping and transporting of hazardous chemicals by road, air, rail, or sea. Section 15. Regulatory information. Other federal, state, or local regulations that are not indicated anywhere else on the SDS. Section 16. Other information. Includes the date of preparation or last revision or other labeling information like HMIS or NFPA labeling systems. Note: since other agencies regulate this information, OSHA will not be enforcing sections 12 through 15. It is imperative that employees know where the SDSs are located at the job site. SDSs can often be found in a binder at a HAZCOM station within the workplace. Many facilities are also putting SDS information on computers. The employer must inform all employees the location of this information. Manufacturers have various ways to get an SDS to users, no matter when it may be needed. Safety data sheets for Betco products can be retrieved at our website, www.betco.com. Employees must take the time to read about the products used while doing their jobs. Think about what the sheet says and how you are using the product. And remember, if working with a new chemical, read the SDS and label and consult with a supervisor before using the product. Just having labels and SDSs around would be ineffective if the employee doesn't know how to interpret them or where to find them. Proper training will ensure that employees will know how to read and use safety data sheets, will know what protection is required to work safely with the chemicals in the workplace, and will be able to determine what actions to take if an emergency occurs. OSHA requires employers to present information in a manner and language that their employees can understand. If employers customarily need to communicate work instructions or other workplace information to employees in a language other than English, they will also need to provide safety and health training to employees in the same manner. Similarly, if the employee's vocabulary is limited, the training must account for that limitation. By the same token, if employees are not literate, telling them to read training materials will not satisfy the employer's training obligation. Employees must be trained on the hazard communication program before being assigned to work with a hazardous chemical they could be exposed to, whenever the hazard changes, whenever a new hazard is introduced into their work area. Employers must tell employees about the requirements of the hazard communication standard, where hazardous chemicals are present in the workplace, what the written program, hazardous chemical inventory, and SDSs are and where to find them. The training employees receive must include an explanation of the HazCom program, including information on labels, SDSs, and how to obtain and use available hazard information, the physical and health hazards of chemicals in the employees' work areas, what employees can do to protect themselves from these hazards. For example, engineering controls, work practices, and the use of personal protective equipment, PPE. How to detect the presence or release of a hazardous chemical. For example, by using monitoring devices, observation, or smell. The employee must check with the supervisor if they are not sure about any of these items. Always refer to facility special instructions when there is a chemical emergency. Typical types of chemical emergencies you may encounter: injury, illness. Notify their supervisor immediately. If known, report what hazardous material they were exposed to and ensure the appropriate treatment is followed. Chemical exposure. Skin. Flush with tempered water for a minimum of 15 minutes. If no visible burns, remove all jewelry and soap the area. Seek medical attention if the reaction occurs, or if there is any question about possible problems. Body. Remove all contaminated clothing. Locate the nearest emergency shower and soak for a minimum of 15 minutes and seek medical attention. Eyes. Remove contact lenses, irrigate eyes with tempered water for a minimum of 15 minutes, and seek medical attention. Smoke fume exposure. Do not enter the area. There could be potentially dangerous fumes. Remove person to fresh air. If the employee is down, contact emergency personnel and let them enter the area. Seek medical attention as soon as possible after exposure. Spills. If a hazardous chemical spills or if there is a leak, find the nearest spill cart and clean up the spill or leak. Remember these best practices when dealing with chemicals. Employees have the right to know about the chemical hazards within the workplace. There are 3 important parts to hazard communication program: labeling, SDSs, and worker training. Read and understand the company's HazCom program. All chemical containers must be properly labeled. This includes the original manufacturer's packaging, as well as secondary packaging such as spray bottles. Be sure to read the label and SDS before starting any procedure. Know where the SDSs are located in the facility, as well as how to read and understand each SDS for the products you come in contact with, especially new ones. Always wear recommended personal protective equipment, PPE, such as gloves and goggles. Proper PPE items will be listed on the product's label and/or safety data sheet. If possible, use a chemical management system, such as Betco's Fast Draw system, which is an effective way to reduce chemical exposure to employees and the environment and ensure accurate product dilution for added economy. Remember, all employees have the right to safe and healthy working conditions and have the right to know and understand about any and all of the hazardous materials in the workplace. Be proud that you and your employer have taken the time to learn more about OSHA HazCom and use your knowledge to make a difference in creating a safer work environment. The information presented here provides an overview.
Wow, a lot of information in that little 20-minute video, huh? And it goes through quickly. So part of the reason why I posted it in the Google Classroom is for you guys to be able to view it again. It's there as a tool even after you leave this class. So keep in mind, the Google Classroom, I do not delete those classrooms after you've completed the course. If you ever need to reference this material, it's there for you. So feel free to reference that. Here's some important points that I want to highlight about the OSHA hazardous communication standard. The first is just a simple thing. What OSHA has done is to update the law. Years ago, we had a law that was called the Right to Know. And it was a fantastic tool because OSHA, in regulating businesses and trying to create standards, said that each individual, every employee of a company, has the right to know about the chemicals that are being used in their facility. that was a good law. It really was beneficial to all of us. It created a standard where chemicals had to have what's called a material safety data sheet for every chemical that was ever manufactured. And you had to right to know what was in that chemical and how to protect yourself. The problem with the law as time went on is two things. One is it didn't always match up with international law, especially nowadays when we ship products all over the world. And number two, manufacturers were given a little bit of leeway as to how they applied the law. And companies were given a little bit of leeway. Now, the fact of the matter is all companies were required to educate and train their employees on how to use products. But there was not as much emphasis on training. It was more on an emphasis of, okay, you have a right to know it, so you need to know that the SDS binder, this red binder, is going to be kept in the office. And if you need it, it's there for you. Now the enforcement has taken a much higher level. As you notice, there was 3 particular elements to the right to understand. That's the new law. We have a right not only to know it, but to understand it. And Arkina, if you don't mind, I'm going to utilize you in this discussion. Arkina, you immigrated here from another country. English is not your first language, so you're learning it. The law says you have a right to understand it as much as everybody else in this class and all other employees. And as a result, it's not enough simply to tell you that that safety data sheet is there. You have the right to understand it, to understand how to protect yourself and how to properly use that. What safeguards should I take? To help us with that, one of the particular elements was the pictogram, because not everybody has the same fluency in reading and writing. Therefore, if we used caution words, okay, such as danger or caution, those help. And then if we use a pictogram, if you see a pictogram and it has a picture of maybe a flame, you're going to understand that that's possibly a flammable product, right? So those pictograms help us to understand. If we use simple words such as danger or caution, we use pictograms, and we put it both on the label itself and on the safety data sheet, it becomes a lot more understandable. Everything ties together, and then the training is tied into it. So for all of you, when you go to work at a business, you leave here and you go to work for a janitorial service or a hospital or a school district, somewhere in your training should be a safety training that has the right to understand the new standard. And that standard, by the way, was what we referred to as GHS, Global Harmonization Standard. That meant 2 things. One, that standard is in line with international laws established through the United Nations. And number 2, that everything harmonized. The label on the bottle and the safety data sheet and your training all were consistent. They all were in harmony with each other. So a label on a bottle would read very similar to a safety data sheet. And that was what the GHS was created. So that was just some helpful things. Is one, understanding that you have a right to understand it. Make sure you hold your employers accountable. And just so you all know, OSHA, that OSHA standard, applies to the workplace. It does not apply to products that we use in our home, because OSHA doesn't regulate things that are happening in our home. It regulates things that happen at work. So if you work for a school, a janitorial service, a medical facility, a government agency, the OSHA laws will apply. And it's your right to understand it. Make sure if they tell you to use a product, you understand how to use it. You understand how to protect yourself, meaning what PPE or protective equipment you would use, how you would use it, how you would dispose of it. Now, here's an interesting thing. Did you know that products in a concentrate are not to be disposed down the drain? At least in California. We can't pour a concentrate down the drain. But once we mix it into a bottle, such as a mop bucket, it's safe enough to do that. Why? Because it's been diluted down. Again, it's your right to understand that, to understand the local laws and the things that pertain to you. So make sure you, as an employee, take advantage of that, and you're very comfortable with it. You understand how to use it. And a lot of companies have become a lot simpler with it. Betco was mentioning some tools that they use. Did you guys pick up on some of the things that they did in helping companies to be more compliant? Any things you noticed? Anybody notice about the chemical mixing stations that they were talking about? How that they have those mixing stations? That way you don't have to guess regarding the dilution. It's all pre-mixed for you. You press a button, you fill up your spray bottle or you fill up your mop bucket. It's all right there for you. They have the labels on both the spray bottle and the concentrate and the dispensing system. And that all ties in with the safety data sheet. They made the safety data sheets available electronically. So not only do you get it in a paper form, you can get it electronically. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question regarding the training and whatnot. Is rear current training on a yearly basis something that's required?
Which card?
Rear current training, meaning every year you have to go through training, or just something, just a one-time thing, you get hired, you go through the training and they show you this and that, and then next year you're on your own.
So it's a good question. According to OSHA, it is a one-time. However, that is changing in where they are holding employers more accountable for ongoing training. Because what they feel is that one-time training is not enough. And an example of that outside of the chemical world is sexual harassment training. We covered sexual harassment briefly in our last lesson. Sexual harassment training is required by all employers for all managers and supervisors every 2 years, state law. So companies have to do that, and they have to prove that you went through that training. So not only just a sign-off sheet that shows you went through it, but literally that you were tested and understand it. So to that extent, I believe you're going to see more and more of recurring trainings with testing by employers as we get stricter with some of these laws. GHS is only currently, I believe, about 5 to 7 years old in law. The first couple years after it was first enacted was simply getting the chemical manufacturers in line and compliant, because it meant a complete change. Everybody had to write new safety data sheets and new labeling. Nelson, question?
Yes, by me doing custodian, and I don't know the back with the education that I'm glad that I'm taking a step farther to go to class, to educate, to invest in my education, to know more about what's go behind the scene with custodian. Even though you know how to clean up the restroom, you know all the protocol, but technically you don't know the protocol for the chemicals or where to look for the information sheet, and how to like we were doing the racial dilution, the racial. So it's good to invest in your own self. And if you see anything out there on the market or any company that's holding a class on cleaning, it's good to get into.
Yeah, I would agree. But I also think it's, I want to see more and more employers doing more to help their employees with this training. Tony, your comment.
Yeah, kind of to Mark's point, when he was talking about, is it annual, is it monthly? I've been in situations where, like in manufacturing and warehousing, that was just like, you know, going with the company real quick, seeing what they were all about, and they'd pull their employees off the floor and they would do like a refresh in the year to make sure that they were certified, so that in that employee file, they at least took computer-based training on any updates, you know, industry and safety.
Well, and a couple things that are happening that are helping us. One is insurance companies are requiring it because they're looking to protect their investment. So if they can reduce the amount of workplace injuries, and you got to think about the workers' comp companies, they are big about promoting this. So you'll see organizations who do more training that the insurance companies are pushing. And on the other side, insurance companies are offering discounts to employers who do more training, more education, and constantly refreshing. So there's a lot of help there. One other point to be made on just the right to know or right to understand laws. We talked about the labeling, we talked about the training, but one last point that was made is you should never use a product that is not properly labeled. And to that extent, if you see a product that has a label on it, but for some reason, because you've been trained on the product, you notice that maybe the color of the product doesn't match the description, notify your manager or supervisor of that, because they want to make sure that that gets corrected. OSHA will fine companies in the thousands of dollars for having a product that is not labeled in the supply room. The only exception, as was stated, is if that product is going to be used completely during that shift and not put back on the shelf. For example, a pump-up sprayer. You can use a pump sprayer if you mix the product, use it up during the shift, and then dump out the mixed product, whatever's left over, at the end of the shift, and it's left empty. But you can't use it up and leave it there. The same is true with the mop bucket. We don't have to put a label on the mop bucket of what's in the mop bucket, but we can't leave solutions sitting there in the mop bucket. It has to be only for that shift. Okay. Tony, do you have another question, or is your hand just still up from earlier?
No, I'm trying to play with this little icon here, but I do have a question. I was just scanning the last part of this chapter. And then I jumped over to the OSHA website real quick. That HAZWOPER 40 certification, since we're talking about HAZCOM standards, do you have any experience with that directly, or like anybody that you know that's been the HAZWOPER 40 tech in cleaning hazardous chemicals? Like,
so I don't have experience with it, but I know people in the industries that do. Okay. One of the guys that went through my class when we were were going through the train the trainer program, he actually had that experience, and his business, they dealt with some pretty nasty stuff. They dealt with crime scene cleanup. They dealt with spills. So if somebody had a chemical spill, after the emergency personnel dealt with their part, they went in and did the cleanup. So they had some of the higher certifications of that. But I haven't dealt with it in particular. I will tell you, ISSA is working to develop some further training along those. And I'm also reaching out to a couple other training organizations, one of which is Granger. Granger does a great job of providing safety trainings. So I'm hoping to incorporate some of their material into classes that I'll be offering later in the year and next year.
Cool.
So, you know, and education is one of those things, there's just so much material that is now available. You know, you guys, several of you have mentioned, continue to educate yourself. Continue to go out and find stuff and develop it, because that'll make you a better employee, but even better, it'll allow you to advance your career so that you can be helping others in a supervisory position or management position. So, any questions related to the entire chapter on chemicals? We have covered a lot over the last 2 weeks, so we'll do that, and then we're going to spend a few minutes talking about the testing. Arkina, unmute yourself, Arkina.
Yeah, just press the space bar down, Arcana.
There you go.
Hi. Actually, I don't understand how can use it pH in cleaning.
You don't understand how we use pH in the cleaning?
Yes.
Okay. So we talked about how chemicals have a pH. We're not specifically using pH. We have to understand what the pH level of the chemical is and of the type of soil we're cleaning. So if we know that the soil has a pH that is typically alkaline, then we would use an acid. And the reason being is that a lot of times to neutralize something, right? Neutralize means to bring it into balance or neutral. We have to do the opposite. So a good way to think about it is to think about scales, right? Or even a teeter-totter, something that we're trying to create balance. So if we have something that is very highly alkaline, then we need to use something that is acidic to bring it back into balance and neutralize it. So in your book, if you will, Arkina, look at page 16 of your book. It talks about soils and pH. What I'm going to ask you to do, Arkina, is to read that few paragraphs under soils and pH, and then do me a favor. If you have questions after that, reach out to me and I'll help you and I'll give you some examples. But this should help you because we want to keep it simple. I don't want to get too in depth with it, but this few paragraphs really helps to explain it. Okay? So it's on page 16 under the subheading Soils and pH.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for that reminder, because one of the things I'm going to do right now in the class, you guys have my email address, but I'm also going to post in the Google Classroom my phone number. That way, if you guys have questions, you can text me. And then I may not be able to give you an answer, but what I'll do is schedule an appointment for us to have a little bit of time to do that. So give me a second here. I'm going to post this in our class. Now, did everybody, with the exception of Robert, receive an email from me regarding testing? Do me a favor. Check your emails, if you will.
I got it.
I got it.
I got it too.
I got it.
I got it.
Good. Sounds like everybody's getting it.
I got it.
I have it.
I didn't get anything about the testing. I just got the classwork, the videos and all that good stuff.
It is in your email. So who was it that said they didn't get it? Was that Ken?
Yeah, it was me. I just got the stuff. It says new material, new assignments.
Okay, Ken, let me check something here on my email to make sure I sent it to the right one. So give me a second. And then
you might have sent it to 3 Nemo 3. Okay, I'll check that one too.
Yeah, I think that's the one I sent it to. All right, guys, what I'm going to do now.
I got it.
Got it. Good. I'm going to go into one of your tests to show you how this works and what to expect in the testing. Let me share my screen. And if you give me a second, I'm going to pull up one of these here.
Hey Dave, I didn't see, unless I missed it here, the username and password.
That should have been emailed to you. Did you get that one?
No, I got the directions here. I got 2 emails with the directions.
In the email,
I also got a direction.
Okay, but in the email itself, I should have, in the body, it says username and password. So let me check something, guys. Because I'm going to check my sent folder here. So let me start with you, Mark, and then I'll check Arkina. Mark, when you open up the email, you'll have a link that says class marker, but it also just simply says Mark Sandoval and then train 2021 exclamation. Do you see that?
No.
I'm going to reset it to you, Mark.
Yeah, because I got 2 emails, and the one that I opened, it says, here's your password. I open it, it's a PDF, and it just has the same directions as the other email.
Okay. So is it Mark? Yours is the Kazoo 2K?
Correct.
All right. I'm getting ready to send it again. Train 2021. Okay, Mark, I just sent you that. Tell me that you got that one. And then Arkina, give me a second. Let me find yours. And on the password, you guys, they are case sensitive, so make sure you do that. Then I'm gonna open up Naomi's.
Is it Train 2021? You said.
Yep.
Is that the?
That's the password.
Right. Okay. With the exclamation point.
With the exclamation. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna open up Naomi's. Okay, perfect. So you guys are seeing I've logged in here. This is what your testing will look like. You're going to see where you have all 6 modules. Now, we have not done all 6 of these. We've only done one of them, right? Actually, 2. We've done module 1 and module 2. Somebody's trying to text me, by the way, in the chat room. I cannot see that while I'm in the share screen, so bear with me and I'll come back to your text. So once you click Start, you will now see the test. And it has a number of questions, are 15. There is no time limit. You have to get an 80% or better, so the instructions are there. You would click Start. And it'll give you your test. Now, these 15 questions are the same 15 questions that were in your practice test. However, they're in a different order. They've just reorganized the numbering. So let's deal with a few of them together so I can demonstrate to you guys this testing. When we deal with an angry customer, it's important to focus on what 3 things? Who can help us with that one? You guys remember the 3 things it told us to focus on? Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the A, listening, assessing, and explanation.
Right. So although some of these others were covered, it did tell us that when we were dealing with angry customers, the most important thing we do is to listen, assess, and explain, not avoid them. So another question, if a customer is complaining, the best method of communication is the you style. This makes it easy for them to understand what they could have done better. Was that right? Is it the you or the I style? What was a better way of communicating?
The I style.
The I style. So that answer would be false. All right. My mouse, because I'm using it on a wood desk, is there we go. All right. So you'll go through, you have 15 now. If you have to stop We've done 2 questions, and I have to stop and come back because you've got something that you've got to get done. Maybe you've gone through and you answered the ones that you knew, but there's a few that you're not sure about. You can save this and finish it later. And it'll say confirm finish later. If you finish it, it'll give the opportunity to confirm that you finished it. If you answered all 15 correctly, you finish it, and then you confirm that you finished it, it will tell you what your score is. All right, so now I go back to my groups, and let's see, it should be under my details. There we go. And you'll notice that now instead of starting it, it says to resume. Okay. So I'll be able to look and see. During the course of this class, as we go through testing, I will be checking to see how you guys are progressing on your testing. One of the things I would encourage you to do, if you get to a point you're not sure, you've tried to look it up in the book and you just can't seem to find the answer, text me or email me. Don't text or email and says, Dave, I don't know the answer to question number 4. I'm not going to be able to answer you there. But set up a time saying, Dave, can I have a few minutes of time? And I'll schedule time with you guys to do this, either before or after class is over on any of our classes, or if I have time on one of the off days, Tuesday or Thursday, I'm more than happy to try and work with you. Part of the time I am allocated for this class isn't just our classroom time. They allocate time that I'm available to help you guys with one-on-one times to help you with different ones. So Arkina, if you need some extra help, please reach out. I'm more than happy to help you with your testing and help you guys find where you would get the answers.
Thank you.
Understand the answer, because it's not just finding the answer, but understanding why that's right or wrong. Mark, you have a question?
Yeah, if and when I finish these tests or modules with 1, 2, or whatever, do you get a notification, or it goes to you that we've completed that, or
once you're completed,
so you know we've
with
done it?
Everything, all 6 of them, Therese gets a notification. So she is our representative over at ISSA. You know, she works closely with them. However, I have all your logins. So as your teacher, I go in and I will check them regularly to see how you guys are progressing. Once you've completed number 6, I only have a short amount of time to see where you're at with it. So a lot of times if I don't check fast enough, I can not know. But that's only if you passed it. If you failed the last one, then it'll leave it open for me to see. The other thing I will tell you is you're going to be able to see all your scores here. If for any reason you have one that you don't pass by an 80% or better, which I hope that's not the case, because you guys can do this open book. You don't have to rush through it. But if you have one that you fail, it will simply say that you need to retake it. We do not do retakes until you've finished all 6 of them. And the reason we do that is ISSA charges for retakes. So if you have to retake a lesson, you either retake 1 or more. There's a different price. If it's just 1, it's like $20 or so. If you have to take and redo more than that, it's like around $50. So
yeah, the reason why I ask is, have you ever had an issue to where, you know, we get to the end and it's still showing that I didn't complete a test when I actually had completed?
So we've never run into a situation where you have completed it and you didn't. because you'll know it requires, as soon as you do the confirm twice, it's done. And it's an automatic, it's a computer program. So we've never had a situation where somebody said, no, I completed it, and I go in there and look and it's not complete. I mean, if that happens, it's simply because they didn't hit confirm twice.
Okay.
And so we can see it. And Mark, one of the other reasons why we finish testing about a week before our class is done. And the reason we do that is because we want to leave open that opportunity for assistance for students who maybe are struggling with the testing or whatever. That's why we leave a little bit of room at the end. And it's also why we begin testing early. Here we are just finishing the second lesson. I don't want you guys to fall behind on testing. The further we go away from it, if you wait to do your testing till the end, it becomes much more difficult. So do it as you go along. Now, the only exception I would say to that is if you did the written, where you did the pretest, you got those all done and you're saving it, I get it. But I always encourage everybody, just do your testing as you go along, because it's going to allow you to have this information a lot more fresh in your mind than trying to wait till we've done this for 10 weeks. So
at the end, when you finish your test, do they tell you which one you've got wrong?
Yes, if you failed it, you can go in and you can look and see what questions you got wrong.
But even if I didn't fail it and I got 3 wrong or whatever, it'll still tell me?
It'll still tell you. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I believe it'll allow you to go in there and do that. So. And what I would say is, once one of you does complete it, then I'll use one to go in and kind of use as an example. I'm hoping I can leave one open as an example one for you guys. So, Robert, you're not here anymore. I guess he left. I had to leave. Okay, I'll get back with him. All right. Any other questions about the testing?
Yeah, I have.
Go ahead, Arkita.
If I put my username and passwords, I have to change again, or it's work out every time?
It is the same username and password all the time.
Oh, okay.
So you are not allowed, it will not allow you to change your username or password.
Okay, thank you.
And when you're done...
Because sometimes I apply, they ask it's a temporary, that's why I'm asking.
Yes, yep. This one, because we don't create them, ISSA does. They're the ones who create the username and password.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So everybody now has their username and password, has the instructions for it, right? So if you, for some reason, have a problem, if you forget your username or password, send me a text, send me an email, and I'll resend it to you because I have it all saved. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. So that is the ISSA testing that I mentioned. Start testing. You guys now, we finished lesson number 2. So you guys can begin your testing. Your homework assignment for the next couple days is to begin reading lesson number 3, basic cleaning above floor surfaces. This is a very simple lesson. It is from 35 to page 46. In this lesson, Alex, I'll come back to you in just a second. In this lesson, identify what are the equipment and tools, what are the materials, and what are the supplies, which would include the chemicals. So that's part of what your goal is going to be able to do, is moving forward through lessons 3, 4, 5, and 6. Always be able to identify the equipment, the materials, and the supplies, and then we will cover the procedures. every lesson will follow that same pattern from now on. Alex, you had a question?
Yes. Um, does the email have a link to the test site?
It doesn't have a link, but in the instructions, the PDF instructions I sent, it gives you the website, classmarker.com.
Okay, one more question. You said at the end of the test I need to confirm twice?
Yeah, it'll ask you to confirm it, and then it'll say, are you sure? So you'll see that when you finish up a test. If you have one question that you didn't answer, for some reason you skipped one or missed one, it will not allow you to finish it. It'll say save and finish later, but it won't say, completed or finished. You have to answer all the questions. All right. So that's your homework assignment for the next couple days. We'll begin the above floor cleaning. The process that we go through, as I mentioned, regarding this lesson from above floors, will follow the same process for hard floors, for carpet, and for restrooms. So what we're focusing on this next lesson is, with the exception of restrooms, because we're not going to talk about restrooms in this, it is the areas we clean in a room that is not the floor. So that means walls, desks, furnishings, everything else in the room, including the vents. That's all part of it. So we'll talk about dusting. We'll talk about the glass cleaning. But as you can imagine, besides dust and glass, there's not a lot of procedures for doing above floors. All right? So it's a pretty simple, basic lesson, but it, again, sets us up for how we learn the next parts. All right. Before we wrap up class, somebody had a chat question, so let me look at that real quick and make sure I answered it. All right. Perfect. All right, guys. This has been fun. I enjoyed the chemical portion. I hope you guys did too. There was a lot to digest. There's a lot that you can reference back to for you guys to dig into. pH is one of those things that you can continue to reference. And remember that all the content that is in the Google Classroom does not go away. Feel free to utilize that as you are studying and going over that information. It's there as supplementary information for you. Okay? And lastly, the assignment I gave regarding dilutions. I am not going to grade that. I'm not checking you guys. But if you're really wanting to understand it, there was a lot more detail there for you. And I encourage you to do those. Send it over. I will definitely grade those and send it back to you, just like I did the people who sent it in last week. Okay? This, like with all training, you get what you put into it. So if you want to make sure you understand something, put the time and energy into doing the extra lessons. Those are there for you, not just to understand to pass a test, but to really understand, why. Understand these dilution ratios. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Good class.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye. Take
Have
care.
a good one. We'll see everybody.
Oh.
Hi. Hi, Devin. How are you?
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Eleanor.
Hello, Cherry.
Hello, Colette.
It's good to see you this time, Nathan.
So, Nathan, how'd it go at the doctor?
She said, it's not super severe. I have what they call a soft tissue injury, which is like a sprain / like pulled muscle. So she said within 2 to 3 weeks, if I keep it properly elevated and ice it and rest and stuff, I should be fine within 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, but that won't stop you from doing things for 2 to 3 weeks, right?
Yes.
Yes, it
Definitely
will.
wiping things down and stuff. I definitely can do that.
Okay. All right.
And what exactly happened?
You want to tell them, Nathan?
So I was helping my aunt move to her new house, and her old house is in downtown Sac, so she had a cement staircase, and while I was helping her move, I fell down those stairs.
Yeah, so now he's hurting for certain.
Ouch. Yeah.
Okay, well, I have a little news that Stefan particularly probably won't want to hear. I have a cold. People have a cold, but they're making me go take the COVID test, so I'm going to go take that at 1:30 today, and it takes 1 to 3 days to get the results. So we're going to be still meeting in our little boxes for a little bit. Yes, class. Oh, of course.
God.
Stefan, is that how you control your emotions? Is that how you'll react
No.
if things don't go the way you want them to go?
No.
Okay, let's put on.
No.
Royce, put on your big boy pants, right? This is an adult program for people who want a job. Yes, Royce? And I got you, Cladnick.
So, is it just for the first half of this week or for the rest of the week?
Depends. They say it takes 1 to 3 days to get my test results. So, maybe they'll have it tomorrow, or even if they have it Wednesday, we could go. I mean, for sure, tomorrow we can't go to class. I'm so sorry. And they won't let me have a sub in class either. So I can't, have a sub go there and be with you. I'm so sorry. I mean, honest, I think I have a cold. And what's really unfortunate, because I've had one immunization, chances are it wouldn't show anyways. Well, I got to go through the processes. So I'm just going to have to wait until I have the result. Okay? And Clad, you had your hand up?
Yes, we're willing to wait as long as we need to for you to feel better.
I'm really sorry. I do have I have a meeting with Kaiser EVS tomorrow because I'm really trying to get all these things going. And, there isn't anything I can't do like this. So I was supposed to meet them in person. So I reached out to them to see if we could possibly do a Zoom or something so that I don't have to postpone that part. So I'm waiting to hear back on if we can do it on Zoom. I'm really trying to get things going. I really want to get us back in the world. It's been almost a year. How many of you now have had an immunization?
I had the first one.
Okay, and Jordan had both. Has anyone else been sent anything?
I haven't had it yet.
Have you all checked your emails real close? Because they'll be sending something.
I haven't gotten anything.
So it might go through your parents,
No.
it might go through you. But for example, I have one scheduled for Tony on the 25th. And I didn't schedule these things. These are things that are getting sent through email. And how many of you plan to get the vaccine?
The COVID vaccine?
Uh-huh.
I'm getting a second one on March 4th.
I'm still on the fence on that.
Well, Royce, the thing with you is,
I'm planning to get it.
Royce, you won't go anywhere because of COVID. So it seems to me that you would probably be an excellent candidate to get it.
Well, I'm kind of worried because I might think the vaccine might be a fake.
But no, I get it. And it's not something to laugh at, guys, because we hear a lot of things, right? But I don't know if I even want to say, if you listen to the former president, you might think that. But if you listen to all of the medical professionals, they say get it, right? There's a couple of things, like if you might be thinking you might be wanting to have a baby, which that eliminates a lot of you right there anyway. That would be a female thing. Some people are waiting because of that. I have a friend that's waiting because of that. So how many other people are torn whether they're going to get it?
No, I know I'm gonna get it when I can. I can ask my dad if he got anything in the emails, in his email, because I didn't get
I
anything.
would bug Alta because
Mine.
it's like where Tony's going through Alta to get his. Mine was because of being a caregiver and a teacher that I did mine at Cal Expo, but Tony's will be at Alta, and you know, Steps getting all their people. Okay, first I saw Nathan, then I saw Andrew. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yes, mine's more of a question. Is it a requirement to continue with Project Search?
It is not.
Okay, because
It's not a requirement.
okay, because if it was a requirement, I'm definitely down to get it. But I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I'll go get it if I need to, but I don't know. It's like with the flu shot. Me and my family never really was just like, because I have a good system. But I mean, yes, but definitely I'll go get it for protection for Tony, for you, and all my other team players if you would like me to.
You know, I can't make anyone. I personally recommend it.
Okay.
I can't make you do it. Okay. I just think for your protection too, that if you want to be out there in the working world, especially if you want to be working in the hospital,
Right.
I would just believe in protecting myself,
Okay.
right? And it helps keep other people protected. Go ahead, Sean.
I just want to say that the vaccine has gone through rigorous testing through the CDC, and they've done several tests to prove that it's safe. So it's not something they've just thrown out into the public. So I just wanted to tell you that, Royce, that they've gone through rigorous testing on it, and they've come to the conclusion it's 95% effective for COVID. So yeah, hopefully that helps you if you know that information.
Go ahead,
I have a question for that. It's effective against a new strain of COVID, right? That I've been hearing about. Just curious. Okay.
I don't want to say anything about that. Yeah, I'm not a doctor, so.
Right. I'm not a doctor either. I listen to a lot of doctors talking about it, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I'll have my dad check his email, see if he got anything from Kaiser.
And it wouldn't be from Kaiser. Kaiser right now is only doing healthcare professionals and 65 plus because the county is getting most of the doses of the immunizations right now. So Alta is probably going to get you quicker there than Kaiser.
Yeah, I mean, we've got emails from Alta saying that they had some left over, but then we've got another email saying that they were out. I'm like,
you got to jump on this stuff. I'm telling you, if you want to get it, the appointments fill up like that. There's vaccine chasers. Maybe you've seen some of that on the news. They'll go hit every site and wait at the end of the day to see if there's one left. I mean, people, you know, they're hard to get. And if you get something, I would personally, I would take it in a second, because then who knows when your time's going to come around again. Right? But you know, like I said, it's not required. I can't make you. I am not an expert. But if you listen to the experts,
you are actually experts.
Well, not an expert with COVID, that's for sure. Anyone else want to talk about anything about immunizations? You want? Oh, hold on, I got Clad. Go ahead, Clad.
I haven't really thought about it yet.
Hey, well, why do you think we have all been indoors for almost a complete year now?
No, I know the reason why. I just haven't thought about actually getting an immunization.
Well, do you want to get a job? Do you want to go back out in the world? I mean,
yes.
We are less than a half a year from being done with this program, right? some of you will be coming back and we'll have some more time. But like I was giving Jordan a hard time getting her job. She did good. She got the immunizations, but she needs to get out there. And I don't know if you noticed, I made a couple changes, suggested changes on your questions or on your resume. I think that's what I did. So some of you, you know, I mean, remember how we always talk about it's either we're going to go out there and get a job or we're going to sit on our parents' couch and bring in the SSI, which $900 a month is cool when you haven't gotten that before, but it does not pay for independent living at all, right?
I'd rather get $2,000 in total, or even
It's
more.
mainly used for food.
Well, no, you can do more than that. And like that budget we're looking at where you're being real careful with your income and having roommates and all that, you know, it'll go further. Yes, Eleanor?
I have the question.
Okay.
So, I think.
Change your mind?
Yeah.
Okay, well, always feel free to ask any questions you want to, okay? This is a safe place. Okay?
All right. Okay.
All right. What else did I want to talk to you all about? What did I have down here? Okay, so I sent out the resume. Oh, I can't even think today. The outline. The resume outline. Okay? Even if you don't know how to do the objective yet, you can at least be getting all of your personal stuff in there. Right? So the dates and things, where you worked, things like that.
You sent it to our email, Miss?
I put it in through Google Classroom.
Okay.
And I didn't
Okay.
send it separately to Nathan and Jordan because they both already have it and have done a lot of work on it. Right? So I didn't think I needed to send it to the two of you. But everyone that's in Google Classroom, I posted it today.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm also open for suggestions, you know, John and Yvonne in particular, if you think things would look better a different way or something. I am not the queen of resumes. So I just kind of adjusted according to kind of what Kaiser managers have said and stuff, and that's why I think it's important to put that first part back in because most people do have an objective. So
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and John, if you have a resume outline that you think is superior to what we're using, you know, we can look at that too.
I could show you mine because mine was
Well,
worked
I'll
on
look.
last year with like Sue and Yvonne and all that.
Yes, please share it with me.
Okay.
And it's the same outline we used with Sue, so I haven't changed that. I just put in the beginning.
Okay.
Anybody else questions on resumes, interview questions? I asked for the resume to be completed by next Friday. Oh, and I
Okay.
saved something. I was waiting to say it with Nathan because Nathan, hold on, let me get where I was. So remember, our life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. Did anybody watch American Idol last night?
Nope.
No,
Don't
I
watch
don't-
TV.
Yeah,
I don't.
I did.
Who watched it? You did, Devin?
Yeah.
So they said something. They said life begins at the edge of your comfort zone, but he took it one line further. After that, he said, every time you feel afraid, take a step forward. I love that. So don't back off and retreat if you're afraid of something. Step into it.
That's very good.
I'm like, I have to share that with the class and particularly with Nathan because he even used it in his presentation. Go ahead, Andrew.
Another line that I remember from a book. If not me, who? If not now, when?
Exactly. Life is short. We never know how long we have. So why we'd want to just sit back in our rooms and do nothing? I mean, especially all of you being young, I would think I'd be good to go. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Where's Jonathan? Oh, there he is.
Beside you.
Aren't we missing? Aren't we missing one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, never mind. I don't know. I thought we were missing one. Never mind. Sorry.
Honestly, it's because you're being so talkative.
What?
He's like, what?
We finally got Jonathan's new jacket that fits him. And Stefan, I need you to sign your IEP. I have it printed out because I thought I'd get you to sign it today. Oh. It's all right. We'll get it done. If I have to, I'll get it over to you. But I was thinking we'd be meeting in person, so I was all prepared for it. And I do have a lot of printouts of papers that I have prepared and that I was going to send to you, Yvonne. But I guess right now the priority is just the resume and the interview questions. Okay? So,
Okay.
anyone think they have nothing to do? Nope. I don't see any.
Nope.
All right, and Jordan, we got that deal. So what is it, 3 or 4 applications a week?
3 to 4. 3 to 4.
Okay, and Royce, are we going to get on the same thing? Think you can do 3 to 4 a week?
Yes.
Okay. John, you wanted to say something?
Oh, it's kind of off topic, but when Jonathan and I were working together, I had him write down his what do you call it? The introduction for the resume.
The objection?
The objection, yeah.
Objective,
yeah.
Objection.
We worked on it together. I had him write it down. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm very tired.
No problem.
That's what we need.
I was like, I don't know. I forgot what it was called. So.
So we need the interview questions too, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Jonathan, we know you need a lot of practice, right? To memorize it and be able to say it. And right now you're sitting there with a blank sheet. So you have nothing to even practice. Right? That's why I'm especially excited to get you in the classroom so we can help you in person. But here I am with a cold.
And last week I filled out the checks for the money.
Good. So those are things we'll work on again Thursday and Friday this week. I'm going to try to get your next paychecks to you by Friday because although it's not the last day of the month, it's the last day that you would be in program for the month. So I have that on my you here. Is Jonathan, you like that? And then Jonathan, if you can't until I get proof that I'm negative, I can't even come help you at home. But as soon as I get these test results, well, hopefully we'll just be back in class, right? And then I can help you with the financial stuff. I think they're getting quicker with these results. So.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to be back there with you. I'm very excited for it. And Stefan, I just need you to practice patience and understanding, okay? I know you want to be back in class. I want to be back there too. I really do.
Back in December, I got a test for COVID, and it took like 1 day to get the results.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be shorter. The last one I took, I think it took about 3 days, but hopefully all these processes are getting faster.
Yeah.
That's as early as I could today after this class will be over. So an hour and a half, I'll go. And that's not fun either. Stick this thing up your nose.
Yeah, it tickles a lot.
Yeah, no thanks. I went to Rite Aid, which I'll never do again. It took like 4 or 5 days. I don't know to go back.
Well, I'm actually driving clear to Folsom Kaiser again because I really like being able to drive through things as opposed to going in, especially,
Yeah.
So we're going to take a drive to Folsom because that's what I did last time and it was easy. You roll down your window, remove your mask for a minute. They do it.
Yeah.
So not like waiting in an office until it's your turn or anything.
That defeats the purpose of being in an office, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry that I don't really have a ton except talking about getting these 2 things done. I will try to work on the objective, giving you a more clear example of what objective looks like on your resume.
Sherry?
Yes, Andrew.
I can hear my phone vibrating. Can I see who it is real quick? I don't know if it's important.
What would you do at work? Are you going to leave your job because you don't know who's calling? Same with DMV. Are you going to look at it because you can't stand to wait a half an hour?
No.
That's That's part of that self-control.
It's best just to wait until your shift is over.
Exactly. Okay? I mean, I know it's going to drive you crazy, but that's what you got to do. That's why I have you all. Okay, Royce got out for some reason. I'm trying to admit him right here. That's why I have you all wear watches at Kaiser, because people cannot resist that vibrating pocket. Right? Oh, who could it be? Who could it be? I gotta see.
Well, and
right?
if your boss sees you with a phone out all the time, seeing what time it is, they'll get you like in trouble.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, Royce. Go ahead, Joe.
My phone shut down.
What? What'd you say?
Does Miss Sherry have us wear watches when we go to Kaiser? But she has us put our phones in a box, in a drawer, and shut the drawer until our shift's over. So because it's not an emergency. Unless it's an emergency, there's no need to go into there and be like,
Well, and then there's an exception. For example, say your sister's in the hospital having a baby, and they're going to call you when it's time to go in or something, right? Those are things you would know in advance, and then you would just let your supervisor know that, hey, I've got this on me just in case I get this call about this.
Or there was one out. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me personally, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm actually really excited because I'm actually about to have a niece. But for me, that's not necessarily important. But like, if my sister was in the hospital because she was in a bad car accident, then yeah, that probably would be a good excuse, kind of thing.
Exactly. Okay, I saw Tyler, then I see Yvonne. Go ahead, Tyler.
Well, I was just saying, when I was in the safety department, I had to take the bus to the other Kaiser place over by the mall, and that was an exception of having my phone with me because I had to keep contact with the other people.
Exactly, because we were sending him out in an independent place, right? And there weren't any supports there for him, so we did think that was important. Plus, Tyler's pretty good about not getting on the phone. Go ahead, Yvonne.
So if you have an emergency, like I'll give you an example. When I was working at Laurel Ref, we had the school had gotten in trouble for being on the phone. There were several workers that were constantly texting on the phone, just like all day. And we, as a group, we all got in trouble. Julia did, no, not Julia. Dale didn't want to say, point fingers. She just says, I don't want to see anyone on your phone texting. This is not what you're getting paid for, yada, yada. And then literally like 2 days later, my youngest was so sick and she had a fever. And I'm like, okay, if this fever gets worse, I'm going to have to leave and take her to the hospital, right? So I told Dale, I walked up and says, I know we're not supposed to be on the phone, but my youngest is super sick with a very high fever. And I'm just letting you know, I'm going to be checking on her and asking her what her temperature is, like every so often. And she might text me if she's getting worse. I'm worried about her. And right away, Dale said, hey, if you got to go, just go. If that were my kid, I'd get out of here too. Don't worry about it. So I let Dale know ahead of time, hey, I'm going to be on my phone, and this is why I'm really worried about my child. So, and she was totally understanding. So if there is an emergency like that, just tell your boss and let them know so they know what's going on with you. You do have to leave, right?
Yes. And say to me, if you have something like that, and say, look, Sherry, this is going on. I need to have it on me today. Andrew, you look real stressed. Are you okay?
Yeah, just a lot of noise since my mom's in meeting and this is also going on. So.
Okay. All right. So you just got to be able to focus, and you have to be able to pull yourself away from your phone. I mean, the world does not end every time someone gets a text or a phone call, right? This turned into a big discussion, but this is an important one to have, right? So Andrew, this isn't all on you. It just brought up an important topic, especially for hopefully getting ready to go back out in the world. Yes, Nathan?
Yeah, and then I just wanted to like throw out there too is that like just like understanding and patience with each other is like also a really good skill to have, because I mean not like life isn't gonna go smoothly. For example, my arm, I never wanted to have this thing in a sling. I only had it in a sling for like not even a day, and I'm already starting to get annoyed with it. And I have to wear this thing to 2 to 3 weeks.
But there's always a bright side. So it's better now than like the minute we got back into internship, right?
Exactly.
You're like, no, I've been waiting a whole year and now this.
Exactly, yeah.
Bright side to everything, there honestly is. God, sometimes we gotta look for that silver lining, right? Because better now than later. Of course, better not at all would be better, but we didn't have that option now. Same with this. Ugh. Who would have to stay home for a cold a year ago? And now it's like, no, don't come around us. So, all right. Anything else we want to talk about? Particularly if it's related to interview questions, resumes, getting a job, getting out of your house, starting life again. Go ahead, Devin.
I have a question.
Okay.
Are you going to stay on Zoom instead of doing in-person learning tomorrow?
I have to tomorrow, Devin. So I go get this test today. And say it takes 1 to 3 days to get the result. So until I get the result, I can't go back in person. And that's if I get a negative result. If I get a positive result, then it's like 10 days. But it wouldn't be a whole 10 days because it would be 10 days from when I first had my first inkling of the cold, which was last Thursday. So should I say I tested positive, and if I didn't get all sick, that'd be Thursday, it would be 8. It would be next Monday if I test positive and don't have, don't get really sick. Then it would be next Monday. I'm hopeful that we can be back in by Thursday, but I know we can't be back in by tomorrow. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
It's out of my hands or my hands are tied. What's that, Stefan?
No, I said it's fine. It's not your fault.
That's pretty good with those fingers crossing there, Andrew. Yeah, I'm really sorry. Honestly, I want to be back there as bad as you do, Stefan and Jonathan. And I think Devin, I think a few of you are anxious to get back, and a few of you are like, So
the most important thing is that you're healthy, Sherry. That's first and foremost,
And I really think I am. But yeah, you got to check it. So, I mean, sometimes people get colds in the winter time. It comes with the territory of winter, doesn't it? I made it all through the year. And I didn't get my flu shot this year, which is probably my bad, but for 2 reasons. One, I'm used to getting it when we're at Kaiser, right? And 2 is the day I went to get the COVID one, I was hoping I could get the flu one too, and they said you can't get them both in one day. And then I didn't follow through, but I don't feel like flu. I feel like cold.
Yeah, and this year with the flu shot, they didn't give the little stickers to put on your badge. They weren't doing that this year because I asked when I went to go get mine. I said, "Well, do you get the little stickers? I need it for my badge." And she's like, "No, we don't give those out." And I'm like, "Uh-oh." And I told her,
"Coming in as a patient, not as a."
Right. But she says nobody was getting the stickers, but she did write me a little ticket that showed the date and time that I got the flu shot in it from Kaiser. So I did have that little verification.
Good. Okay. Anybody else on anything? Go ahead, Glad.
Well, I, for one, have been getting out and about.
Good. So if you...
And by that, I mean physically.
So you mean like walking?
Yeah, walking, running, exercise, really.
Good for you. You're even running. Very impressive. A round of applause for Glad.
Yes, I've been running around. I went to Barrett, I went to Marshall. I've had a good run a couple of times.
That's
Every
awesome.
2 days I go out for
good job.
I've been doing
Thank
my
you.
workouts here.
That.
Thanks, Eleanor.
If I've written anything else to talk to you all about.
Well, my wife has a cold, so let's keep her fingers crossed that I don't get it.
So, did the test?
No, I don't know if she has yet. She has a virtual job right now, so she doesn't really have to.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, this class I'm taking. I thought I had written some notes because I wanted to ask you some of these things if I was doing them. I wanted to get your opinions. But maybe I'll write some of those notes and ask you some questions because it's about me being a teacher, right? And it's called Engagement by Design. This is the book I'm reading. In every chapter, I have to do like an assignment in it.
Oh, cool.
But it has a lot of things like, do you do that with your students? Do you do that? I'm like, well, I think I do. I think I'm pretty good at that. Or maybe I don't do that enough. But I was thinking maybe some of you could give me some feedback when I have time to put it in notes. Go ahead, Clad.
Is it just me, or is Jordan facing in and out of the camera?
Are you fading?
A little bit.
I know she's not sitting like this, though. Maybe it's because of her background. I think that happens with those.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I've just been noticing her moving.
but she seems like she's very with us today, and I love that.
Yes, a little bit too much, though.
She's floating in the air. It's pretty cold in San Francisco, right?
Okay, cold, Jordan.
Do you have a green screen, Jordan?
Yeah, but I turned it off because my wall, the wall behind me, I've tried it with it, but it actually made me look like I'm disappeared into the brain.
Yeah, I haven't played with those backgrounds at all. Not once. Tyler, what are you working on?
Huh?
What are you working on?
I was just looking at a paper.
Okay. I've seen you this way and I've seen you this way.
Oh, sorry. I'll pay more attention.
Okay. We want to feel your present.
All
right?
right.
We enjoy your company as part of our team. I see you looking at the paper again. Come back?
Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate it. All right. Well, we have, 15 minutes, 18 minutes. I'm sorry I'm not more prepared for this. I have nothing pulled up.
Yeah, it's okay.
What's that, Jordan? I thought you said
That was
something.
me.
Oh, do you have something to say, Clad?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It seems like we're more like a family, I guess. I don't know.
Well, we haven't seen our family for a week, right?
Well, I know that, but I mean like a product search family, I guess.
We are a project search family. That's why we always start with our team building, right? So that everyone learns how to have each other's back and get to know each other well so that you can work together comfortably. Yeah. All right, Nathan, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this thing, you didn't really see it coming over when we were on break. You didn't necessarily see it coming. It
What?
just smacked you. Yeah, the cold. Well, actually, technically both.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
was just trying to be a good nephew, and then somehow this happened. But
I know, you're only out here doing good things and being helpful.
yeah.
Go ahead, Sam.
Can I tell you a story or no about what happened yesterday
Sure.
at work? Last night at work, I went to go get stuff for the line in the stockroom area, and all of a sudden I came back. The person who was supposed to work with me last night, he was there, and I left to go to the back room to get the stuff for the line to stocked up, and and when I came back, he left on the shift.
He left. He walked out. Uh-oh, we've been having good connection, but now I see your eyes closed.
Walked out on a shift last night.
Really? Was it only the
Without the manager knowing about it.
Was he upset about it?
No, because he done it without the manager knowing about it. Yeah, because the manager told him to stay an extra hour, please. He's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. So I guess he grabbed his stuff and walked out. The manager knowing about it.
Ooh, that's a little scary. So, sorry, I'm having. Never mind. So, did he lose his job, or does he just have to go talk to the manager?
I don't know what's gonna happen because they asked where he went. I said, I don't know where he went. The manager came up and asked me where did he go. I said, I don't know.
Was that why you work so late? Oh.
Yeah, because they needed help.
Okay, who did I see? Clad? I think I saw your hand.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it was quite refreshing to hear Sam actually speaking English without having to worry about the connection, but then it got worse than that she was speaking.
I know this morning it was great. That was probably the best reception I've heard with Sam, and then she started to, yeah.
Not so great. But better than nothing.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for being a good team player, that is not what you do.
While walking out.
Yeah, because like from what I understood is that she stayed to help that person, but instead of saying thank you and staying with Sam, that person just like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave. Do-do-do. Here, you cover for me.
That's not good. No, that's not a good team player, right? There are some times though when your bosses might ask you to work overtime where you like absolutely can't because of something. Chances are on a Sunday evening there's not a doctor's appointment or something that you have to rush to though. And yeah, leaving without talking to him. Well, so was it the end of his shift and he just left, Sam?
No, it was like middle of his shift.
Yeah. So if it was the end of your shift, maybe there'd be some coming back from it. But the middle of your shift, chances are he doesn't have a job today. Right? You can't just walk out mid-shift. That's about as bad as a no-call, no-show, and in some ways worse, right? Because they think you're there, and they think they have their self covered, and then all of a sudden you're just not there anymore. Chances are that fella may be unemployed, yes?
Too bad.
Okay, so I need to hear, who haven't we heard from today? Jonathan? Jonathan, we need to hear something from you.
Hey.
More than hey, but that's a good start. How about we talked yesterday, Jonathan? What were some of the things you did over the week off?
Oh, clean the house.
Clean the house, right? And he thought that was pretty cool. So what did you clean? What were you in charge of, Jonathan?
Everything.
Everything? You cleaned the ceiling? You did? You cleaned the ceiling? Look at me. I need eye contact, Jonathan. Did you clean the ceiling? Did you clean the bathroom?
Yeah.
Yes, you cleaned the bathroom. Did you clean the kitchen?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you clean in the kitchen? I want words more than yes and no. So what did you clean in the kitchen? I cleaned the
The dishes.
Clean the dishes. Good. What else did you clean in the kitchen?
Oh.
Can't give you the words. You could say things like, I cleaned the counters, I cleaned the floor, I took out the garbage, but I want you to say those words, okay?
Clean the floor.
Clean the floor. Good. Can you give me one more thing?
Floor. Clean the table.
Good job. Thank you. One thing I've been learning in my book, it's called Giving Wait Time. I think I'm pretty good at giving wait time in the beginning, right? When you all go to answer a question. But what I learned that I should do, because we have some of you that answer questions a lot, right? And some of you that don't. So I should be saying things to you like, give me a thumbs up when you have an answer. And I should be waiting till almost every thumb is up instead of going just with the ones that are really quick to answer. And another thing about wait time is at the end, I don't give as much. So I'm watching that on me, and I noticed that I just did it again, because after you all answer a question, right, we want to be able to let it soak in for everyone, kind of. And I did say that during our presentation I was able to do that, and that sometimes I actually need to mute myself or actually put tape on my mouth. So that isn't one of my greatest strengths. But we all have to keep learning, right? Even teachers have to keep learning all the time so that we can get better at what we do. Go ahead, Nathan, and then I see Clad.
Yeah, like they say, I mean, you're never too old to learn something new.
It's true, and that's why we take all these professional growth, they call it, system of professional growth, so that we can keep learning and not get stale or too confident that we think we're really great, right? Because then we can always learn more.
Right.
Who was next, Clad?
It was me. There is never a chance not to learn something.
That's right. And I always learn. Go ahead.
And I also got to clean my room this whole week.
Yeah, I did that too.
Hearing Jonathan reminded me of that, and I told you guys that I was going to clean my room, and I did it for the most part. That is, let's clean the floor, so now it actually looks nice. We got this new little tiny vacuum cleaner, so that way I can get those really hard to reach areas.
How many of you feel like you've done more cleaning at home since you've been in Project Search? Even John has his hand up. Lord, I want you to come back because it looks like you're doing something other than us right now. Okay, you only have a couple of minutes. You can get through this. You got 7 minutes, okay?
I did. This weekend I went to Dad's house, and I did help him take out the trash both times because my sister, Dad told me that my sister thinks taking out the trash is disgusting. So I took out the trash, and I kind of dragged it, so some of it fell when I took it out. And then I told my sister, and my sister was like, oh, gross. I'm like, I came here and I took out your trash for you 2 times, and I don't get a thank you. You just go, oh, gross.
So what do you think about having a roommate like that won't ever take out the trash and won't even thank you if you do it? What do you think?
I didn't really like that because I felt disrespected because I was like, I came to Dad's house, saw that the trash was like really full, and Aunt Lonnie has taught me if you see something, do it. So I saw it and I did it. Instead of saying thank you, you said it's gross that I did it.
Go ahead, Tyler.
If I had a roommate like that, I would try to get a new roommate that is nicer than that.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? Go ahead, Nate. Oh, wait a second. I'm seeing my same people. Eleanor, what do you think about having a roommate that doesn't ever empty the garbage?
We usually do out the garbage to the garbage.
Yeah, but what if you live with someone, right? Because when you live together as roommates, you gotta. Sometimes you have separate jobs, right? And you go, all right, I'll be the person that does the garbage.
We are usually go out in the outside. We throw garbage into the outside.
Tony wants to say hi, and sorry I had to stop him.
Hello, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hi, Tony. How you doing, buddy? Is that a good? Yeah.
Guys.
Hello.
A mom's name.
Mom's name? I think they know my name. That's my name, teacher. Teacher of Project Search. Unfortunately, I have to stop him right now. Tony, I'm so excited that you're ready to go play basketball, but we have to go somewhere. You can't go play right now. You got to wait till we get back. Okay? I'm so proud of you. I'm always trying to get him out there playing basketball. Now he comes out and shows me he's all ready. And I'm like, wait, stop. We have to go somewhere first, okay? You can play a little bit later. Okay? We can go play for a few minutes if you want to. Yeah. This is he'll go out there and play for about an hour, hour and a half, and then he wants to go to the spa after that. And since my appointment's in 1 hour, we're not going to quite have time for all that. Okay? We'll do it a little bit later. Okay? Anyway, sorry. But he sure does love to come say hi to everyone. Huh. All right. Anyone want to say anything else? John's waving, huh?
Hi.
Hello.
Go ahead, Clad.
No, I was just waving my hand.
Clad's saying hi too. Look, everybody waving at you.
Hi, Tony.
I hope everyone has a good day.
Hope you have a good day with people.
I like him.
Do you like them? Yeah.
Oh.
Good kid.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's sad because I have a cold now. He can't even go to his program for another week. That's how careful people are being. I get it, but it's so sad. So he's kind of like a little prisoner here because his mama has a cold. But we got to be safe.
I like it.
All right, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I will see you tomorrow morning.
All right, see you tomorrow morning, Miss Sherry.
All right.
Bye, Zoom.
Bye.
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 See you tomorrow.
He's already gone.
Good day.
Hi, Sherry.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.